Is also okay.
Yes, sir. This is also okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just stop. We can.
Okay, sir.
That's fine.
We will begin with our event shortly. Meanwhile, we request you to switch on your video and please mute your mic. In case you have any queries, kindly put them in the chat box. We will be going live on YouTube as well, so other members of the club and all the IFHE can watch our video on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Welcome everyone present here. We'll be starting in a few minutes. And let me remind you all, please keep your videos on and please keep your mics on mute. If you have any queries, kindly put them in the chat box. Thank you. We are also live on YouTube, so other members of the club and IFHE can watch our event on our YouTube channel as well. The event is sponsored by our title sponsor, Learning by Traveling, co-sponsored by Sun, Innovogen, avionics, and co-living partner Tikana. Good afternoon, Shayantan Mukherjee, sir. We welcome you.
Thank you, thank you. I'll keep my mic on mute too.
Definitely not, sir.
No, let's keep it. That's not.
Yes, sir. We'll invite
Okay, I'll just keep on mute. When I need to, I'll be coming up.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So, the theme for our e-week is Industry 4.0, entrepreneurship and structural change in the new digital landscape. So, let us go through what happened in the e-week from the first day. So, e-week began on 2nd November 2020 with our inauguration session. The ceremony was inaugurated by Mr. R.V. Sridhar, Executive Director and CEO at Coated Steel at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India Limited. His words of wisdom were really motivating for all of us.
On the day 2 of e-week, we had a panel discussion on intelligent connectivity, 5G, AI, big data, and IoT. We had 4 eminent guests for the discussion, and it was a great opportunity to receive knowledge through such different perspectives.
Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. The third day of the e-week was our special startup meet. Young, brilliant, and ambitious minds coming together to share their success stories. We had 3 successful entrepreneurs who had joined us on the third day, and their victories taught us a lot of valuable lessons.
The fourth day of the e-week was Design Thinking Workshop, where Mr. Biju Balagopal came with a very healthy discussion, and the event was very informative and insightful.
And that brings us to today, the 5th day of the e-week, where there was a national level B-plan competition followed by this orientation program on national innovation and startup policy.
The event doesn't end today. We also have a day tomorrow where we are going to have an inter-club B-plan competition where all the clubs of IBS Hyderabad will be coming and presenting their skills and innovative ideas with us. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally, but from what you do consistently. With that in mind, I, Anushka Kedia,
and I, Ankit Sharma,
on behalf of Maçon, the official entrepreneurship cell of IBS Hyderabad, would like to welcome all our respected dignitaries, faculties, and everyone present here. We at Maçon provide a platform for all those who want to create their own and leave behind the trails of success. We organize guest lectures, business plan showcase, Incube sessions, hackathon, and our flagship event, the e-week. Ankit, please would you unmute? We would love to hear your voice.
Oh, definitely, Anushka. Yeah. E-week is a week-long celebration of entrepreneurial spirit and galore within each one of us. It is that time of the year when you get to interact with real-time entrepreneurs and embark upon your own entrepreneurial journeys. And to guide you with the same, this e-week, we have called upon the pioneers of this field to give you a gist of future technologies and how they are implemented in Industry 4.0.
We all must have heard a very famous quote that says, the secret of getting ahead is to get started. And for this purpose, we strive to provide best efforts to all our aspiring entrepreneurs as a part of our incubation program. We know that starting entrepreneurial journey can be really confusing and difficult at times. And so we are here with this orientation program on national innovation and startup policy to help all our entrepreneur mates out there. So buckle up everybody and get ready for an informative yet amazing journey. And we hope that through this journey, you will be taking so much of learning with you. Before we proceed, I would like to announce that after every speaker, we're going to take up questions. So if you have any questions, please type them out in the chat box.
So today we are fortunate enough to have with us today Mr. Shantanu Mukherjee sir. He is an innovation coach, design thinking practitioner, ex-innovation manager at Mahindra & Mahindra Limited. He also helps young entrepreneurs design invaluable products. He was also the innovation manager at Mahindra Research Valley, where he helped more than 400 engineers to transform ideas to innovate products and services with a well-defined business model.
We are also glad to have with us Mr. Ramesh Loganathan. He is a professor co-innovation at IIIT Hyderabad. He is also ex-chief innovation officer of TS State Innovation Cell. He is also a member of governing board of incubators at IIIT Hyderabad, IIT, and BITS. He is an accomplished technologist with over 20 years product engineering and research and development leadership experience. He regularly speaks at tech workshops and seminars in India and has recently co-authored a book on SOA Approach to Integration published by Pact Publishers. He is also a member of several standard groups, including J2EE 1.3. Most recently, he was the president of Hyderabad Software Industry Association and regional council member at NASSCOM. He is one of the founders of Head Start Network. We welcome you, sir.
Anushka, Ramesh Loganathan sir will be joining us shortly. Our team is in contact with him. We are also privileged to have with us today Dr. K. Nagabhushana Raju, who is a professor in the Department of Instrumentation and USIC, Sri Krishnadevaraya University, Anandpur. He has more than 81 publications to his credit, of which 31 are national and 50 are international journals. And he has also authored a book on industrial energy conservation techniques. He has held several responsibilities, such as head of the Department of Instrumentation, coordinator and head of the Department of Electronics, placement and career guidance officer at SKU College of Engineering. He was also the regional coordinator of Jawahar Knowledge Centers and principal at SKU College of Engineering and Technology. He is currently the Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, and the Director at SK University. He was also awarded Jawaharlal Nehru Sanitary British Fellowship for pursuing PhD in Energy Conservation at UMIST, Manchester, United Kingdom. So, without further ado, we would like to call upon Mr. K. Nagabhushana Raju. The stage is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ankit. Good afternoon and happy evening, everyone. And good afternoon, Anushka Kedia. And I welcome all the participants for this program. And shall we go ahead?
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Yeah. So I'll just share my presentation. Then we'll start up. Let me start up with the title at the background, so that we are more tuned to that. Yeah, this is exactly, I hope it's visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. So my name is Professor K. Nagabhushana Raju. I would be basically discussing on the National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 for students and faculty, a wonderful framework that has been designed by Ministry of HRD, Innovation Council, MHRD, UGC and AICTE which should serve as a guiding framework for all the higher education institutions in the country. And your generation is all lucky today that you have this particular policy coming in 2019, and in 2020 you have already got the wonderful national educational policy, which is going to steer the country's education into a different direction. So far, we have been listening, how the Western education has been, and now with the kind of demographic dividend that we have, that India has, this particular national innovation and startup policy, coupled with the national education policy, will surely be guiding the youth of this generation to that million flowers blossom. So with this, let me just take you through I'll briefly discuss what are the salient aspects of the policy for students and faculty. Then possibly in the end, we can always have the Q&A. Yeah, I have a very, very small assignment for you. At the end, we can always discuss. Please concentrate on this logo. We'll be going through this once in a while, off and on, and finally we can discuss. Just keep looking at it and just see a student has designed this logo. What are all the ideas behind this logo? And that would basically keep you thinking throughout. Yeah, it's always best to start with a quote from a genius in science. Albert Einstein is more of a philosopher than a scientist. According to him, there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. So this particular thing, if you think everything is a miracle, you are ordinary. But if you think that everything is a miracle, you can become extraordinary. That's a very small thing. I expect every one of you to read Naveen Lakur's book, A Little Extra. It's a wonderful book, A Little Extra, only pictorial representations, and which distinguishes an ordinary person to an extraordinary person. And you, all the management graduates at ICFOI, should definitely go through that book. Then, once you know about this, let's understand how to think differently. What is that innovation? In its modern meaning, Wikipedia depicts it as a new idea, a creative thought, a new imagination in the form of a device or a method. This is exactly what is the modern meaning of innovation. So it often also viewed as the application of better solutions that meet new requirements, unarticulated needs, or existing market needs. Why I am giving you this definition is the clear understanding of the definition alone clarifies all the doubts regarding the innovation. The application of better solutions that meet new requirements, unarticulated needs, or existing market needs. That's the clear definition of the thing. Provided it meets the benefit or it meets its destiny when such innovation takes place through the provision of more effective processes, services, technologies, or business models that are made available to markets, governments, and society. And this is exactly the idea behind the innovation. So I expect every one of you to clearly understand the word innovation so that it should not be misunderstood with invention. Invention is always unraveling the mysteries of nature, whereas innovation is finding a small little solution for every problem, every societal problem, whether the problem is in the society, problem is in the process, problem is in the technology, everywhere. And that's exactly, innovation is a very, very, very simple idea. Simple, it's just your state of mind. And all that matters is mindset matters most. And that's exactly what we have seen here the Albert Einstein, if you start thinking everything as a miracle, every moment you will be innovating something or the other. For every problem, there is a solution. That's the reason why every one of you should start thinking that everything is a miracle that's happening just before us. Now, let's understand, slightly go into the part of the innovation. It is basically a theme of thinking, defining, and designing. Thinking is basically the ideation, how you act. Now, all of you must be knowing your brain is a hardware. Every one of us have brains. But what we do with the brains, we all know the computers. They are nothing but the hardware. But can we do anything with the hardware without the software or the operating system? Definitely not. Same thing with us also. We all have the brains, but what is the software for it? When brain is this hardware, your thinking capacity, thinking ability is the software. And that's exactly is the mind. So what you think is what you do your mind, how you shape your mind, how you define the idea you are using. So your thinking ability is basically the mind. That is why mindset matters most when it comes to innovation. Now, let's start pondering about, are we really using the mind? Are we really thinking at every thing that is happening in and around us every day in and day out? And once you have that idea, then you define that idea. When you define that idea, you are making a proof of concept. You are coming out with a concept of, when you define your idea, you are giving some imagination to it. Then when you give some dimensions to it, that's exactly what you are doing, designing. Okay, a particular shape to your idea. And that is exactly what is innovation. So when we go through this, all that it matters is once you start thinking how to change the world, you can change the world only by democratizing. Now let's understand what is democratizing. When you have an idea, when your idea is innovative, that should really change the world. Democratizing means everyone should be free to use anywhere, everywhere, for any instance. Like how Apple has democratized the computers in the beginning, and then Google has democratized the information. We all have seen anybody can input the information, anybody can take out the information. And that's exactly, Google is not doing anything. It's just created the information. It has created a platform for democratizing the information. And similarly, eBay is the first e-commerce platform to democratize the e-commerce platform. Similarly, you all have seen YouTube, how YouTube has democratized the video making. You can do anything, upload it, download it, or doing this kind. So your product, your idea, your defining of this idea should make a meaning, how it can change the world, how it can democratize the process or the product. While doing so, you should always be doing a mantra instead of a mission. Mission, even I have a mission, that my mission is motivating million minds. That's exactly is my mission. So I keep interacting with students. I keep interacting. I have my own YouTube channels where I keep, influencing the minds, touching the minds of the people. So similarly, you may have so my mission is mission million minds. So similarly, Hero Honda has Desh Ki Dhadkan, Amul, the taste of India, Thumbs Up, taste the thunder. So the mission mantra itself should speak about your innovation. Then once you have a clear definition and a shape to your idea, then you should jump to the next curve. That's exactly where you should take the advantage of technological development and evolution. How you can rope in the technological part of it. And this is where exactly, if you see, in 1900s beginning, we had only ice blocks somewhere in different places. People used to go and get the ice blocks in bullock carts, and by the time they never used to have even a good insulation systems. But then ice factories came, and ice factories are also at different places. Then you have refrigerators, because the democratization of ice making. Mind you, that the people who innovated ice factories were not the owners of ice packs. Similarly, the people who have innovated the refrigerator or fridges, they are not the owners of the ice factories. So you never know. All that you need to do is, how can I change this world? How can I democratize a particular idea for the benefit of common man? So while doing so, always don't worry and be crappy. I think you all know the word crappy. Crappy means it's a draft. Don't worry about the perfectness of it. So keep doing something, design something, give a shape to something. You always have different versions. There is always enough room to bring out into a masterpiece. And then, while doing so, let 100 flowers blossom. Because when you are working on your ideas, you will never know. When Apple was concentrating on idea, do you think that computers have popularized Apple? No, it was Lotus Notes 123 which has popularized the Apple first before it went into Apple phones, iPods, iPhones, everything what they have been doing. But it's Lotus 123 which was the offshoot of the software for computers in those days. So while you are working in a crappy way, you never know that it might 100 flowers blossom. There may be several ideas which are coming, and keep working on all of them. And this is exactly the word "let 100 flowers blossom" was initially coined by Mao of China, where he has introduced this concept of let 100 flowers blossom in all the schools. So the idea was basically, let every school children think differently. So let every school children be given the inputs of innovation. And only then, a country like China now, they have unicorns, thousands of unicorns every year. We'll try to understand what is a unicorn very soon. So in India, we are not having even hundreds of unicorns so far. But in the US and in China, they have unicorns, hundreds of unicorns every year. It's because the innovation concept. If you see the Stanford University in Palo Alto near San Francisco, it's spread in the area of 2,500 acres, where almost more than 500 acres is for startup companies. And that's where most of the startup companies, unicorns have come in now. That's the culture which present educational policy is coming out, taking through the generations. And that's the very reason why this particular policy was framed. So then remember that great products polarize people. When your product is really great, polarizing the people is not all that difficult. You will see, even though the Apple phone is very, very prohibitively expensive because of its features, because of its uniqueness, because of its OS, people will be waiting in the queues to purchase. It doesn't matter if the product is really great, and it will definitely polarize the people. And finally, once you have this, churn the product, more profiles, more versions, go on bringing out the masterpiece, go on refining it. So this is exactly what is innovation. So with this innovation, let's slightly get into entrepreneurship and startup, which again, the Wikipedia defines a startup, which is a company or project initiated by an entrepreneur to seek, effectively develop and validate a scalable business model. This is very, very important, right? It should effectively develop, validate a scalable business model. When a business model is not scalable, then it's no purpose of setting up a startup. In the process, we have entrepreneurship, which refers to all new businesses, including self-employment and businesses that never intend to become registered. Startups refer to the new businesses that intend to grow large beyond the solo founder. You may find an organization. Initially, you may be the proprietor, then you may be partnership, limited partnership, then you will be growing. In the process, startups face high uncertainty and have high rates of failure, but a minority of them do go on to successful and influential. And that's exactly where is the screen. So, we should always be looking for that screen, from the screen. No, these startups, there are so many creams in the process, but ultimately there is a cream in the end. And some startups become unicorns. Unicorn means a privately held startup companies valued at over 1 billion US dollars. Okay, so this is exactly why we have so many unicorns in China, so many unicorns in the US and other countries. But why not India? The kind of demographic dividend that we have, because 50% of the youth are less than 45 years of age. That is the demographic dividend that our country has. So if you can really, motivate the million minds, let million flowers blossom in the country. If this particular concept can be spread across the country, if every school children is made to think differently, and sky is the limit for this particular generation of India. Now, if you see a few examples of unicorns, you have Jio, Paytm, Ola Cabs, Oyo Hotels, Byju's, Swiggy, Zomato, BillDesk, MuSigma, Big Basket, Policy Bazaar, Snapdeal, Flipkart, and you have several. I've concentrated only on Indian unicorns. In Uber, you name worldwide, you have several of such kinds. You can always do that search. Then let's see, what is a startup? You would have got by the meaning by this time. Your company will be recognized as a startup by DPIIT of Department of Industries, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade for startup recognition. It all depends on the age of the company. If you should be less than 10 years age from the date of incorporation, and the type of the company should be minimum LLP or a private limited company, and annual turnover can be up to 100 crores. And it should be an original entity. That means it should not be reconstructed from the existing big company. And it should be innovative and scalable. That's ultimately. So once you meet all these requirements, you can always get all those benefits of a startup. Nowadays, you have so much of support for startups. There are so many angel investors. There are so many venture capitalists readily waiting to fund your startups, provided your idea is good. And with that reason, the government of India, spearheaded by all the leading educational regulatory agencies, formed this policy called National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 for students and faculty. Basically, what are the benefits for students? What are the benefits for faculty in the process? So the rationale of the entire thing, these are all the highlights where we will be discussing very, very peripherally. Why the policy is required from Government of India is that presently in India, innovation is still not the epicenter of education. Most unfortunate. So far, we have been studying for marks, rote learning, just for examination orientation, nothing thinking differently. No support in institutes to engage students and faculty to participate in innovation and entrepreneurship. Presently, failure is a stigma or taboo in Indian ecosystem. At every stage, we are discouraged that, if you are going to entrepreneurship, no. It is very struggle. Every one of us is there to discourage. And startups and entrepreneurships are not primary career options, at least not yet, but definitely in the years to come, this is going to revolutionize the Indian economy, because if one startup is there, they will be employing tens and hundreds of people. Instead, they will be depending on the jobs. So instead of a job seeker, you should be a job giver. That's exactly what the nation wants. And as we have just seen, India's demographic dividend is not fully tapped, because 50% of the population is less than 45 years. This is not there with any other country but for India. And we are not prepared for, our finance minister and prime minister keep talking about India should become $5 trillion US economy at the end of 2023. But if in order to reach that, this is the only way. Every home, a startup should produce a startup, and every family should have an entrepreneur. And then this is not a big, whether it is 5 trillion or 10 trillion, doesn't matter for a country like India with this kind of demographic dividend. And we also plagued with surging unemployment in India, and of course more with the pandemic globally also. The gap between skills required and skills imparted, there's a huge difference. The employers on one hand, they require a set of skills, and the employees, the graduates, on the other hand, are short of those skills. And the syllabi and staff are not tuned to market needs. Currently, the syllabi is not at all to the tune of the markets. And this list goes on. And keeping all this in mind, Government of India has come out this policy with a vision that this should work as a guiding framework to envision an educational system oriented towards startups and entrepreneurship opportunities for students and faculties. That's the vision. And it should provide ways to Indian higher educational institutions for developing entrepreneurial agenda, managing intellectual property rights, ownership, technology licensing, and equity sharing in startups or enterprises established by faculty and students. And the policy is also going to ensure that innovation and startup culture is the primary fulcrum of our higher education system. That's where the national educational policy, which has come in 2020, has the very, very basic structure. From the moment you enter graduation, you can study for 1 year, take a gap, take that certificate, have that credits, whatever you have earned in your digital bank, then pursue your career, either go for employment or start your startup, then come back after 2 to 3 years, study the second year, then again go back to your company or some other company, get a diploma, come back again, 3 years, complete a degree, go again, final year, come here, get honors degree, go. So that is the flexibility which we have not been having so far, that has been intertwined with this policy, where the youth have more democratized education system in the country, so that you should start thinking differently. So the steps for implementation is all these headings what they have taken. The steps for implementation is strategies and governance. We'll be going through them peripherally in detail. And then startups, enabling institutional infrastructure, nurturing innovations and startups, product ownership rights for technologies developed at institute, organizational capacity, human resources and incentives, creating innovation pipeline, pathways for entrepreneurs at institute level, norms for faculty startups, pedagogy and learning interventions for entrepreneurship development, collaboration, co-creation, business relationships and knowledge exchange, entrepreneurial impact assessment. So all these headings, let's go one by one. In strategies and governance, the basic idea is to how we mobilize the resources to support pre-incubation, incubation infrastructure and facilities. Because this is very, very essential. In every higher education institutions, you should have a facility where the students come and see and sit and work and see the ecosystem where they are sharing their experiences with the startups, with other entrepreneurs, so that the student who is pursuing a particular course gets inspired by this knowledge, by this ecosystem, thereby chooses a career towards entrepreneurship. That's the resource mobilization plans for these facilities, so that a sustainable financial strategy to reduce the organizational constraints. For this reason, every institute is going to have an innovation fund of 1% of total institutional budget should be earmarked towards the innovation fund. And for this, you can raise the funds from diverse sources: Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, Electronics and Information Technology, TIFAC, NABARD. There are so many funding agencies other than the industry through CSR that you can get from sponsorship and donations and alumni. After this, your effort should have a minimal hierarchical, maximum individual autonomy and ownership of initiatives. The entrepreneurship culture should not be limited within the boundaries of the institution. If one institution is having this facility, it should not be restricted to your own students and faculty, but it should also be available to other students, even the farmers, even the layman can always come and share their ideas. And that's the strategy and governance of this policy. Then the startups enabling institutional infrastructure is you should have a pre-incubation or an incubation facility accessible 24/7 to students, staff, and faculty. You should have an independent of minimum 10 to 15,000 SFT of built-in area with all the facilities to work 24/7, and it should be a separately registered special purpose vehicle. Okay, so this is exactly, it can be a society or it can be a Section 8 company, not-for-profit company registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where it have an individual identity other than the host institution in which it is there. Your host institution should not have direct influence on the day-to-day functioning of that special purpose vehicle or the incubation facility. This is one rider the policy has taken into consideration. Then mentoring and other relevant services through pre-incubation, incubation units in return for fees, equity sharing, or zero payment basis. So the government of India has instituted for this the Atal Innovation Mission under Niti Aayog. As you all know, Niti Aayog is the erstwhile name of Planning Commission. Niti Aayog stands for National Institution for Transforming India. So that's the erstwhile Planning Commission. It takes care, it's an umbrella organization to take care of the growth of the country, economy of the country. So they have constituted Atal Innovation Mission, which will be leading in its drive to set up this entrepreneurial and startup ecosystem in the country. So they always insist that it should have the pre-incubation, and any surveys should not be given at free of cost. That's the mandate which is given by them. The nurturing innovations and startups, you can have the processes and mechanisms at PG level, UG level, PhD students, and for staff, faculty, alumni. Anybody should be able to come and use those facility and ensure incubation support to them, licensing IPR from startup, from institute to startup, setting up a startup and working part-time on startups while studying. Because if you are setting up a startup, you can also come and work as a part-time or a full-time, right? So that you should also give address to register the company in your campus. It will be good for the company, it will be good for the institute. And you should allow them sit for examination, and even if their attendance also should be condoned if the student is truly having those entrepreneurial spirit. And you can even give a semester or year break to work in their startups to rejoin academics, right? And a part-time, full-time course also you can start in innovation and entrepreneurship. And every faculty may be encouraged to mentor at least one startup, because that's where faculty are the very, very important link between the industry and the startup ecosystem and the students. So that's where you should have this culture in order to nurture the innovations. So the policy speaks all these things about. Then the product ownership rights for technologies developed at the institution, whether it is the institute can have it, or IPR right, the student, and you can jointly have the ownership of the innovations. And interdisciplinary research and publication also it can be. And any disputes that are resolving should be amicable, resolved amicably in terms of IPR clashes. That's also the policy speaks about. Then the organizational capacity, human resources and incentives, because from now onwards this policy speaks, the same thing is repeated in National Education Policy, that to recruit staff that have strong innovation and entrepreneurial industrial experience and attitude. Because the ICT clearly says from year 2021 onwards, all the faculty who are being appointed in all technical institutions should have a PhD, number one, and number two, should have an industry background, or they should have a strong innovation and entrepreneurial experience and a good attitude towards the innovation and startup. And this is going to be a very fundamental part of every faculty that's being recruited from now onwards in most of the higher education institutions in the country. Then you're expected to have a cross-departmental linkages to strengthen by shared faculty, cross-faculty teaching and research. Faculty and staff should be encouraged to do courses on innovation, entrepreneurship management, and venture development. This is also part. You should have the capacity building of your staff and students. If one faculty, you are building up a capacity of one faculty, he can always help or mentor 10, 20, 30 students in every batch. And on the long run, you are empowering the faculty and the students, in the process. That's exactly what this point has been. Then the institute is expected to create an innovation pipeline and pathways for entrepreneurs. Okay, by spreading the awareness among the students, faculty, and what is their role in career development and employability. And they should be taught that innovation is a mechanism to solve the problems of society and consumers. Remember, this should go every mind. That is exactly what I have been doing for the last few years and the years to come. I have decided I am on a mission that to touch the minds of several people, million people. That's the target anyway. That innovation is a mechanism to solve the problems of the society and consumers. And if you really channelize these resources towards this, naturally, our farmers, our consumers, everyone are day in and day out, there are perennial problems. If the youth can really think on these lines to solve all these problems, India can be a heaven in this earth. So then students should be encouraged to develop entrepreneurial mindset through experiential learning by exposing them to training in cognitive skills. This is also another very important thing. Experiential learning is important than rote learning, just getting by heart from the textbooks and then duplicating it in the examination papers, then forgetting about it. So that should not be the thing. So your mindset matters most. And the institute should link the startups and the companies with the wider entrepreneurial ecosystem. Wider entrepreneurial ecosystem means on all different domains. You have agricultural and food processing, energy resources, ICT, you have medical and healthcare. So there are different domains, and each domain, if you are really focusing and connecting your students and mentors to different these domains, then it will be you never know which student has interest in which domain. Then that's what exactly every MHRD has come out with a policy to set up Institutional Innovation Council, IICs, at every institute. In fact, even in every state now has around 300 to 400 IICs set up in different colleges. And you can develop a ready reckoner of innovation toolkit, and it should be kept on the homepage of the institutions. Then the policy also defines certain norms for faculty startups, saying that those technologies should be taken for faculty startups which originate from within the same institute. Okay, and then develop a policy of conflict of interest. When 2-3 students are working, and again a faculty is working, whether you are taking the idea, whether it is of your own, or are there any copyrights, or whether so all these things, preferably if it originates from within the same institutes, within the same group, then it will not have the conflict of interest with other institutes. And faculty must clearly separate and distinguish the ongoing research at the institute from the work conducted at startup at company, because this research is different and a startup company work is totally different. Then policy also speaks that in case of selection of a faculty startup by an outside national and international accelerator, a maximum leave of 1 semester or year may be permitted to the faculty. This is also a very important point, because accelerator is a kind of a boot camp for a few weeks, where the faculty or a student or any startup goes through that rigorous process of complete starting up to scaling up model. And if any particular faculty idea gets selected for funding, then they should also be given the leave. Faculty must not accept gifts from the startup. Faculty must not involve research staff or other staff of institute activities at the startup. Then human subject related to research in startup should get clearance from ethics committee of the institution, because the entire process is going to be on intellectual property of different people who are working. So for this, every institute should have an ethics committee to confusion in all such things. Then the pedagogy and learning interventions for entrepreneurship development. So you should have a cross-disciplinary learning using mentors, lab, case studies, games. Normally, most of you management students will be going through the case studies, role models, games. So these are all the basic live examples where instead of a traditional lecture-based delivery, if you have these kind of mechanisms, then the thinking horizon of the students definitely change. So for creating awareness among the students, the teaching method should include case studies on business failure and real life experience reports by startups. You will see, because these kind of real life experiences, if you want to get, you should concentrate more on the failures. Why a particular failure? Now you should be passionate to read the failure stories than the success stories, because there is a saying that failures give you more experience than the success stories. Because that's the reason why people say 95% of the startups fail. So if you can understand why they are failing, getting success is not a big thing. Then again, our systems are not designed for tolerating and encouraging failure. This is where we have to step. Failure should be a part of life, right? We should accept the failure. We should face the failure with passion, right? That's exactly what. Then entrepreneurship education should be imparted to students as a part of curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular level, either in terms of short-term course or elective, this kind of thing. And industry linkages also should be leveraged for latest trends in technology, research, innovation, and market intelligence. Then customized teaching and training material also should be developed for startups. Then in the process, you should have a collaboration, co-creation, business relationships, and knowledge exchange with the potential partners, with resource organizations, MSMEs, social entrepreneurs, schools, alumni, professional bodies, entrepreneurs. And this collaboration is very, very, very important. That's exactly what we are doing. I'll very briefly tell what we are doing at Atal Incubation Centers very soon. Then you have an entrepreneurial impact assessment. In the process, your formulation of strategy and impact assessment should go hand in hand, because you should have a measurement for every success. Only when it is in terms of sustainable, social, financial, and technological impact, only it can sustain its financial and technological impact in the market, you can always scale up. And remember, as a management student, you will all be knowing that commercial success alone is the only measure in the long run when it comes to entrepreneurship and startup. And this is exactly why we are. I'll just try to spend 10 minutes on this. What is this? I think most of you would have seen this. I basically am the executive director and the founder director of Atal Incubation Center at Sri Krishnadevaraya University. We are a greenfield Atal Incubation Center sanctioned by Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, Government of India in the year 2017. Okay, in the year 2017, as a first batch, they have set up only 13 Atal Innovation Centers Atal Incubation Centers in the country, from among 3,650 applicants all over the country. Anybody can apply for it. An industry can apply, an individual can apply, an entrepreneur can apply, an institution can apply, a school can apply. But from among all these things, they have shortlisted only 13 organizations after 7 different rounds. And Sri Krishnadevaraya University, we are the only state-funded university in the entire country to have got this Atal Incubation Center in the year 2017. 18 and 19 onwards, there are many popular institutes have come. But in the entire South India, if we speak, in 2017, CCMB in Hyderabad, Sri Krishnadevaraya University in Anantapur, and then NIFT, National Institute of Fashion Technology in Tirupur for textiles, CCMB for healthcare, and for us, we have 3 domains: ICT and energy and agricultural and food processing. And we literally have a greenfield incubation center. We can hone the skills of the students in any domain. So, Atal Incubation Center, because we are a national facility, we are not confined to any particular thing. And AIC SKU Confederation is a Section 8 company registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. We have a board of directors, and the company strictly runs with the board of directors. And it's a pan-India facility, national facility. Anybody, anywhere, either physically or virtually can incubate with us. And you come with an idea, we take care of all the resources that are required for you. We connect you to the right mentor, we connect you to the right technology, we connect you to the right market and funding agency. We see that you scale up very, very soon, provided if the idea is good. That's exactly why AIC SKU is a hope for emerging entrepreneurs. Yeah, if you see the incubation center, the basic incubation center, anybody can institute. Even if every institution, when you create an incubation center, it is basically to create a conducive ecosystem for innovation, entrepreneurship, and incubation, leading to employment generation, reduction in migration, and local economy development. That should be the vision of any incubation center. I'm talking about the general incubation center. Then your goal should be to inculcate entrepreneurial spirit in the ecosystem, create a paradigm shift in the students, and prepare them to become the next generation innovators and entrepreneurs. That should be the goal of every institute's incubation center. Yeah, we at AIC SKU are concentrating on key focus areas. We have incubators in renewable energy and agricultural and food processing and information and communication technology. And there has to be a synergy among all these, because your ICT can enter into renewable energy can enter into agricultural food processing, ICT can enter into agricultural food processing. There has to be a synergy among all these. I'm glad to say that one of our startup has developed a state-of-the-art solar panel automatic cleaning system, which has very recently got a offer from abroad for exporting the units. And we also have very good agricultural and food processing startups. And then our incubator is supplying for WWF, whom we have collaboration. They are supplying the gadgets to safeguard the crop, from the wild animals. And that's exactly another idea. So like this, there can be several ideas where you are synergizing the information and communication technology to renewable energy to agricultural to all these things. So cross-fertilization of ideas among domains. So if you see the different stages of pre-incubation here, the first thing is, remember, this is pre-incubation, before you go for incubation. So you should have an ideation, you should have an act on your idea, and then proof of your concept. What is the idea and what is the concept? Prepare a proof of the concept, then come to give a shape, design it, and give a prototype it, and then take the help for prototyping, mentoring, and then go through the intellectual property safeguarding of your idea. So your pre-incubation stage, all these 5 important stages, and then we go on to the incubation stage, where you can have the register of the company registration, and every incubation center should be able to help its incubatees in this process. These are again 5 different very important processes. So any incubation center, rather we at our Atal Incubation Center, we help any students or anybody who comes for that matter in the process of registration of a company, and provide all those professional services, then mentor them, connect them. We have a very good network of mentors. Connect them with the right mentor in the process of business plan development and the marketing. And this is exactly what are the 5 important stages of incubation. If you see the typical services that are there in an incubation center, when you have a startup coming, you should be able to give a professional service, an office space, the other kind of either fax, email, networking, other thing. Then ideation and IPR support. You should give a prototyping support. Then any kind of lab testing. If you do not have the lab testing facility, you should always connect them with other lab testing facilities. Capacity building for the incubators, frequently conducting number of acceleration programs, pitching thing. Then internship, provide internship to the students and faculty who are coming with these ideas. Mentoring on different domains. Then develop the business class development, industry linkages, identifying the their domain and link them to different industries. Then facilitate investment with angel investors or venture capitalists, and Government of India department linkages, Department of Industries, Department of IT, Department of Agriculture, and in terms of technology transfer, partnerships, cross startup, and again to different industries, and marketing linkages. So these are all the typical services that are available in any given incubation center. When the Government of India is thinking of this innovation generation pyramid, they have set up around 10,000 schools. They have given Atal Tinkering Labs. These tinkering labs where the children will be working on this. Then they have given in hundreds of colleges, institutions with innovation centers and Atal Community Innovation Centers. And then you have Atal Incubation Centers. We have around 68 Atal Incubation Centers so far in the country for the last 3 years. This will be taking care of guiding these institutional innovation cells, and they in turn will be, we are hand-holding. Last year we have conducted a 3-week program for 5 Atal Tinkering Lab schools in Andhra Pradesh. And this year also we are hand-holding 4 schools with our Atal Tinkering Labs, where the students, young innovators test high-tech ideas at boot camp. This was last year when our incubation center has, trained or really trained mentored these 5 schools from different Atal Tinkering Labs identified by Niti Aayog, and they have pitched their ideas at the national level competitions. Then once you have the startup, this is the mechanism. Atal Tinkering Labs, you have the school children, then identify and nurture innovations, then entrepreneurship orientation programs at colleges level, then again identify and nurture innovations, then individual groups and startup orientation programs, identify and nurture innovations. So all these lead to mentoring, product development, IPR, business plan, and that is required for startups. That's exactly what we have. Okay. So, and in the end, problems are common everywhere, but it is your attitude that makes the difference, and that's exactly what is the attitude of the eagle. And you all know the story of eagle and chickens. And let's not we are all in an atmosphere of chickens. We should always, without knowing our innate ability, we have the ability to fly, but we are destined to walk on the ground. So if you have that ability, keep thinking differently, and then you have the sky is the limit for you. Very much, I think I have stuck to my time. We can have some more time for, depending on the convenience of the organizers, for any Q&A. And I have these YouTube channels, Professor K. Nagabhushan Raju of my own channel. Then we also have Skills to Scale, where we have some, the idea is basically to skill up the younger generation, motivate the younger generation to reach my mission of motivating million minds. That's exactly what is there. So I think this is the Atal Innovation Center at SKU. And with this, I thank you very much. I come to the end of the presentation, and I can take on any of the questions from the participants. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I can take. Ankit.
Thank you so much, sir, for this enlightening session. All of us have got really great insight, and we learned something very new today. So we have a few questions for you. The first question is by Jabdeep Kaur. She's asking that all businesses have to start somewhere, but that starting line varies dramatically from industry to industry and from entrepreneur to entrepreneur. What do you think makes a successful marketing strategy important for this?
Yeah, in fact, that's a wonderful question. I leave this question to have a better person in Mr. Ramesh Loganathan. Good evening, Mr. Ramesh Loganathan ji and Sayantan Mukherjee ji. In fact, Ramesh Loganathan is a better person to answer this. The question for Mr. Loganathan to ask Mr. Ramesh ji.
Sorry, sir. What was the question again, Ankita? What was the?
Yeah, the question was too long for me to understand that, basically.
I will repeat the question for you, sir.
Yeah.
The question is, all businesses have to start somewhere. But that starting line varies dramatically from industry to industry and from entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs. What do you think makes a successful marketing strategy important for this?
See, I don't think they should think so much. See, like there are millions of businesses and like billions of people, right? So they shouldn't worry about like all the differences. See, at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is about like one idea that is sticking to the founder, right? The founders feel strongly about something. That's all. Just make that work. I mean, let's not worry about what others are doing, different businesses, different strategies. None of those matter. Like to the entrepreneur, the only business in the world is their business, right? And they need to do whatever is best for that business. Understand that market well, understand that problem well, understand the customers well, understand the domains well, understand the competition well, and do what is best for that business, for their business. I don't think they should worry about what other businesses are. So the strategy is like, say, at the end of the day, customers like your product, use your product, you have business, right? So first thing is like you have to know who and why will they use your product. The second thing is like, how do you find more of them? Are there enough of them, and how do you find more of them? That's in a nutshell what the strategy would be.
Exactly. How your idea is going to change the world, how your idea is going to democratize a particular a domain or a technology. It can be a product or a process. Always keep thinking on those lines, and your idea is the focal point, remember. And there are so many ways and means in nowadays with the kind of support that you are getting from industries and the ecosystem. Once you have an idea, because it's not at all difficult to take it through the next levels. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your valuable time. I would now request our guest, Sayantan Mukherjee, sir, to please take over.
I definitely can, but I just want to confirm, as per the schedule, I think Professor Ramesh was supposed to go next.
As per the schedule.
Yes.
Yeah, it will be better if he goes then, because I want to sequence my part after
Okay, so no
they are done.
issues. Okay, Ramesh Loganathan.
Yeah, just briefly, let me thank the organizers, and I'll be through the sessions. I would like to listen to Mr. Ramesh Loganathan, and so like to Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee. And at the outset, let me thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity, and to the wonderful participants for your patient listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was our honor to have you, sir. Sir, Ramesh Loganathan, sir, you can please start. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Anisha. So good afternoon, and it's nice to be following Professor Nagbhushanam, sir. Being from Anantapur, and like I think the university is doing very good in the last 2 years. I've been in touch also, but I hear a lot from Sri J. Chowdhury, who's an advisor to the university and to the VC. So happy to be following Professor Nagbhushanam. So the topic was such, right? I mean, like so Dr. Sainath said, like inspire the kids. I mean, like I wish it was that easy, right? That you can just talk for a little bit and inspire anyone. So I thought, like, I mean, it's about the startup policy. Yes, there are a lot of incentives. I mean, in the startup policy, like Professor Nagbhushanam already said, a lot of support is available. DST and Ministry of IT, Government of India, both have been supporting startups for a long time. Now, Atal Innovation Mission has been doing it for the last 3-4 years now in a big way. And so there are a lot of support available. So I don't think the students need to worry about like what support and all that, right? all you need to know is that there is enough support available, right? Once you decide to do something, there is support. So the most important thing is like what, right? What and why. Now, so I'm just going to present some use cases, some interesting problems that research or technology can address, right? And hopefully it will just trigger some thought process in your minds, and maybe it bounces off and like it just grows into something something new and different. And so my primary suggestion is like you just need to be aware of what's happening. I mean, like I don't mean to say treat it as another subject and prepare for exams and such, but just be observant. Read up stuff, read up some interesting products coming up, interesting technologies coming up. I mean, that's the excitement happens when you look at something and then you say like, wow. I mean, like, see, like one thing we don't often read is like, how often do we have those wow moments in our lives? Anything. It could be like something you saw on the roadside. We don't even appreciate, we don't notice. I mean, we're just caught up in this day-to-day grind. The more you notice, the more of the wow moments you have. That's what is going to trigger some thought process. You saw something, somebody's doing something very interesting anywhere. It could be on the roadside, could be in a office you visited, it could be somebody's house, could be somebody's like some other college, anywhere. And like it starts with observation. You just have to observe and then see, like then something will connect with you, right? There's something that you're seeing, you find like, wow, that's fantastic. And that connection is what is going to grow in your minds and then lead to something very interesting, a very interesting idea. You start or not is a different matter. I mean, startup or not is a different matter, but in life, you need those ideas. Those are the moments that create that inspiration, give some fantastic new thought into our minds, and then that grows into something. So I'm just going to touch upon some of the technologies that's kind of happening right now. I'm just focusing on what's happening in the computer science world, specifically IIIT. But just as a glimpse, I mean, there's similar work happening in every domain. So just looking at machine learning, right? I mean, we human beings can very easily identify, even if you haven't seen a breed of a dog. Right? Sometimes some dogs look like cats and some cats look like dogs, but very rarely. Very often, when you look at a dog, even if you haven't seen the breed ever in your life, we can detect it's a dog, right? Likewise, we can detect it's a cat. We can detect many things. And it's something that comes very, very naturally. Even a 3-4-year-old kid will be able to distinguish between a dog and a cat. Now, you know how hard that is for a software program to do? Just to recognize from an image, recognize accurately without getting confused that this is a dog, this is a cat. Right? That is itself is a very hard problem. And then goes the next level trying to say, like, distinguish what type of dog it is. Right? This is a breed, like this is an Alsatian, this is a German Shepherd, this is a Labrador, this is a Rajapaliyam. Right? Distinguishing what kind of breed it is. Then comes the next level, actually identifying who it is. Right? I mean, like this dog is called like Johnny, this dog is called Subu, whatever. Right? And so all of this comes like by using lots of data. Right? Machine learning works it's called learning for a reason, right? AML, machine learning. The artificial intelligence is made possible by learning from data. You give the system enough images of dogs and enough images of cats, and you say this is a dog, this is a cat, this is a dog, this is a cat. You don't have to say why. If you give enough images of dogs and enough images of cats, the algorithm system will learn what are the common features of a dog. And then next time you show the system a picture of a dog that you haven't shown it so far, it will be able to recognize it's a dog, which is exactly how human learning also works. And so that's the machine learning is at the core of AI today, right? Now, there are, the other thing is like, I mean, look at how we learn cycling, how we learn speaking. Like a language, there are studies that show, I mean, in India, it's very common for a little child, 3-4-year-old, to speak in 2-3 languages. Very, very common. 3 languages in India is very common. Right? We are very fortunate that way. In many countries, the child or anybody would speak only 1 language. We like almost everybody would speak at least 2 languages. And we learn in school. How does a child learn? I mean, if you try to learn a new language, either in school or college, you know how hard it is. But children learn, nobody taught them, right? How do children learn languages? Nobody taught them like this is the grammar, this is what the meaning of the word is. They learn just by observation. That's another type of, that's the primary type of learning. By just observing, you hear, and then like you just learn. You get to know the whole language, you understand the meanings, you understand the structure of the sentence, you understand grammar, you understand tense. All that happens just by listening to people. Now, that's how computers learn language today. You give it enough language, it understands the patterns. Now, the second way of learning is like, how do you learn cycling? Right? When you learn cycling, it's one place where, I mean, most of learning happens if we learn from our mistakes. But cycling is one place where we learn only from mistakes. Nobody taught us like how to get the balance right. We kind of try, we fail, and like every time we fail, we kind of very subconsciously understand what did we do that made us fall. So the next time we do, we compensate for it, right? And then we fail the other side. Then we realize that, okay, we overcompensated. Now, next time we'll just kind of balance it a little bit and keep doing it for a few days and we get the balance. Now, the whole process of learning was learning from mistakes. You learn cycling only by losing balance, right? It's not like you just, somebody taught you the technique and you go start cycling and you learn cycling. You learn cycling only by losing balance and falling. And then you learn what not to do, right? How are you losing balance? And that's how you learn and try to avoid doing that so that you don't lose balance. Now, machine learning again is the same way. Like you learn, the systems learn from mistakes. Like that's a very important part of machine learning systems. With a very brief introduction, right? If you look at AI is in every sector. We hear of self-driving cars, very extreme form of AI. But just we know today, like there are many cars that give collision warning, right? Now, collision warning doesn't mean like there's an object within 6 feet and so it starts beeping. That's a very basic type of collision warning. Most of the collision warning like will detect an object that is 50 feet away and see that that object is moving at a certain speed, you're moving at a certain speed and you're closing in. Like if you don't apply the brakes now, in another 5 seconds, you're going to hit that vehicle. Now, this is how human realize, right? When we start applying brakes, if you have driven on highways, we're very subconscious, that's how we do it. We kind of know like that vehicle started to brake and like if I don't brake now, I'm going to go hit the vehicle. And then you gradually start. It's not that you come to 6 feet of the vehicle and then suddenly slam the brakes. Now, those are systems that's existing today. Collision warning systems. I mean, completely self-driving car is an extreme use case. Collision warning systems, like parking assistance. I mean, how to park the car, like looking at where you're parking, it will suggest how best to park. Now, these are all, at some level, these are all systems that are artificial intelligence solutions. Voice assistant, we take it for granted today, whether it's Alexa or like Siri or like, right, or the Google Assistant or anywhere. Just understanding language. I mean, we just discussed learning a language is very difficult. And how do you make machine understand language? And that's even more difficult. And it's still not, I mean, the technology is still not there. I mean, like with simple commands, they're okay. But you can't have a full-fledged conversation with the machine today. It is very error prone. Like if you look at any technology, a lot of technologies that give, like say today, even some of the video conference, Zoom and such, you have a closed caption option. And like as the Zoom session, as somebody is speaking, it starts giving subtitles at the bottom. It's generating on the fly. And you look at it like every 5th word or every 10th word is wrong. Every 3rd or 4th sentence, it gets it wrong. It's okay when you're trying to use it as a supporting, somebody is speaking and you want to see the text as the person is speaking. So it's okay if it gets something wrong also because you heard some words, you didn't hear some words, so it is just reference. But imagine the machine has to make a decision based on that. I'm telling a machine, transfer 20,000 rupees from my account to like somebody else's account. Now, if it got the name wrong, if it got the account number wrong, it got the amount wrong, that is not okay. I mean, there you did much higher level of accuracy. Now, voice is not there at that level, but it is evolving. So a lot of voice-based solution is an area, again, where there's a lot of AI in play. Healthcare is a space, some happening, but lot more that can happen. Just trying to detect. We're right now working on a project where we're trying to say, like, can we get a primary healthcare, like a doctor, village, medical kind of a system where without a doctor, the system shape should be able to advise like a doctor would advise. Now, it's going to be filled with AI. I mean, you're going to ask the questions. Based on the answers, you're going to figure out what could be wrong. You're going to take a digital temperature. You're going to do a digital stethoscope. Based on the heart readings, I mean, the beating and the sound of the chest, the algorithm should figure out what is wrong. That's what a doctor does. Every doctor puts the stethoscope on the lungs. The doctor is checking not just the heartbeat. He's checking like the breathing sounds, many things from the sound, and the many things that the doctor can diagnose just by hearing the sound. Can we make an AI algorithm do the same thing? by just a digital stethoscope, can we diagnose what is wrong? And can we, looking at the eyes, a doctor puts a torch on the eyes or on the tongue and then visually identify certain things. Can we make an algorithm do that? Can we put a camera on the eye or camera on the tongue or even on the skin? And can we identify what is some medical conditions because of those? Now, this is all AI at play. So in healthcare, there's a lot possible in healthcare. So in every domain, there are solutions possible. Let's look at some of the, this is just based on research works that's happening. I'm just going to take few examples and talk about like the one on the bottom right, right? Split screen video generation. Like when a camera is looking at a stage performance, like there's a dance performance or a theater performance, a stage play. And normally you have multiple cameras, right? The reason you have multiple cameras, sometimes you want angles, right? You want a front view, you want a side angle, but most often you do multiple cameras because you want one long shot and you want one or two very close-ups. Like a dance performance happening, you want a close-up of the eyes or close-up of the fingers, if that's what. So you have multiple cameras too, so that like you can pick, you take a long shot, you zoom in to the eyes, you zoom into the fingers, and as the case may be. So this was technology where automatically it identifies where the action is, current action. If it's a dance performance and the eye movement is what's happening, it will identify the current action is the eye movement or current action is in the fingers. And automatically will create an alternate feed from a single camera view, right? From a single camera view, it will create another view which is only a close-up of the eyes. It will create another view which is a close-up just of the fingers. And using a single camera, algorithmically, it determines and generates. Now, identifying where the action is. I mean, that is classic AI, whether it is currently in the eyes or currently in the feet or it's currently in the arms, fingers, wherever or it's currently as a group, where the action is, it has to learn. I mean, human being learns, right? When we go to few performance, now the same machine has to learn the exact same day. It has to be given enough number of videos for it to understand that like when this is where the action is. Now, we built a similar system which actually right now being piloted at Gopichand's Academy. Just a camera watching a badminton game. Just one camera or two cameras, a camera that is pointed towards a badminton game, the players just play. At the end of the game, typically if a coach was observing the game, at the end of the game, the coach will give all kinds of inputs. Coach will tell the player, look, I mean, today your network was very, very poor. Every time you went to the net, your footwork was not great, your backstrokes are not great, and like you lost a lot of points on the line. And the kind of things that the coach might give, this system can give. And it was taught by giving it a lot of videos of badminton games. And annotate, you mark out different types of strokes, you mark out like, so this whole algorithm now can at the end of the game can generate insights that typically a coach might give a player. Now the algorithm generates it. I mean, just imagine like how complex it is, like an hour-long game, it can generate the analysis that a coach will generate and give to the player. Now the system can do it. Now, just by observing the game, a camera pointed to the court, that's all it takes. There's something else we're doing, like in terms of road conditions, already done and also deployed somewhere, where just a normal camera, it's a mobile Android camera that is mounted on a vehicle pointing at the road and just drive around. The algorithm identifies the condition of the roads, where there are potholes, where there's water logging, where there is some mud and other debris on the road, where there are sidewalks, where there are no sidewalks. All of it can be identified and it marks it up on a map. And like automatically, it just identifies where all there is road conditions, where all the roads are bad. And marks it on the map and marks out what is bad also. Is it waterlogging? Is it like potholes? Is it like some debris on the road? Is it like just bad roads? Is it like, right? Whatever it is. It identifies the condition of the road just from you don't have to do much. You just drive around with a video and feed the video to the system and the system generates this on the map. So computer vision, camera-based, whether it's static images or dynamic moving video feeds, camera-based intelligence is a huge area right now. There's so many possibilities. Like you already heard, I'm not sure if you read about it, in this city, with all the cameras coming up on the roads now, there are some cameras installed in some busy areas where the camera can recognize people without mask. Right? Again, that's an AI solution where like a camera can recognize a person without mask. We did some work for one of our research groups did some work for a large organization where all they wanted was when there are multiple ID cards submitted, right? If like you might submit for a say bank account or like anywhere where you need to open an account, I might provide a copy of my passport, license, PAN card, right? They will say submit at least 3 ID cards. Now, how do you find out that these 3 photos are the same person, right? And you may have the picture of the person also. The person might have given the picture also. How do you find out now often the license may be 10 years old. Now, when we look at it, I'm sure you would have seen at some point, when you look at a photo of somebody that is say 10 years back picture, you can almost always make out that picture is of this person, if you know the person well, even if you never saw the person 10 years back. Now, how do we do that? The features change, right? Clearly features change. When you look at somebody that is 20 years and 30 years and 40 years, the features change. But we can very effortlessly figure out that it's the same person. How do you make an algorithm do that? And that was part of the problem here. The pictures may not be very clear. Often these ID card pictures are not very, very sharp. Pictures are not clear. Even when it's not sharp, when we look at the picture, we can make out, this is you, right? We can make out it's not clear. How do you make an algorithm do it? So that was a project that was done. When multiple ID cards are given, the algorithm, all it had to figure out was, they're all the same person or not. So there are many, many things possible just using images, right? Images and video. It's called computational imaging. There's a broad area. And so that's one area where there's a lot of AI solutions still coming up. Now, robotics broadly, right? When we think of robotics, we think of mechatronics, moving. Robotics is not about a human-like structure that is walking or running. Yes, that is one type of robotics, but robotics is much more than that. All of autonomous control, autonomous driving, autonomous navigation, all that is robotics. When you make a drone go in and do something inside, so when you make a machine by itself do a task, right? That is essentially a robot, right? If a drone, there's a pick and place drone, the drone, if you tell somebody somebody new, if some of you are all freshers, if you are new in the campus, if somebody will tell you, look, just go there, there's a conference room, just go straight in the corridor, there's a conference room, get into the conference room, and there's there's a table lamp, supposing. There's a table lamp on the table, just get it. We don't have to do anything. We may not know the place. We'll just go looking for the sign, and then the person said this direction. So we go in that direction. We find a room that says seminar hall, and then we go in, and then we find a table. And nobody told, is it a white table lamp, black table lamp, is it small, is it big? Nothing. We just said table lamp, right? We can pick it up and come. Now, imagine if a machine has to do this, right? First thing it has to find the room. Okay, that's a different problem. Once it goes into the room, imagine that room has a lot of shelves on the way, right? When I walk in, all I see is shelves. When we get into such a room, we don't even think for a moment. We walk around the shelves, right? We look at the shelves that we can see. If we find the lamp, fine. If not, we'll find the gap, go behind the shelf. We will go across the room, quickly walk around, find the shelf, and then come out of the door. Now imagine a drone, first thing, if it flies into the room, it's going to bump into the shelf. So first thing it has to do is it has to map the whole 3-dimensional space that it is seeing and identify where there's an object and where there is some free space. And then see in its current view, is the lamp there? If it is not there, it has to navigate itself in between these to the other side. And then may see other obstacles. There may be obstacles that is coming from the roof. There's a big hanging lamp, for instance. It can't fly into the ramp. It has to go down and fly. You can't just always fly at 7 feet height. You won't hit anything. There could be things coming from the roof. There could be things coming from the wall. It has to map the 3-dimensional space and then understand how to go around, right? And then find the object and then pick it and come out. And it find its way back. Very complex problem. For human beings, it comes effortlessly. Even you can just send a 5-year-old, the child will go and get this without even thinking. And for a machine, it's extremely hard. So robotics is an area again. There's just a lot of the autonomous solutions, whether it is drone or other form of movements or self-driving cars. For instance, when you talk about self-driving cars, we only worry about is a human being coming? Is there a vehicle on the road? Right? Is there any property? You are hitting against a wall or something? Or is there a human being? Or is there another vehicle? Now, that is a very trivial case of self-driving. It has to understand many things. It has to make determination, like we discussed some time back. If it is closing in on a vehicle, you don't, just because you see a vehicle, you don't stop. Right? It's going in the same direction. So you don't stop. You don't just slow down. You slow down only if that vehicle is slowing down. Right? Or suddenly somebody else comes. You should be able to react. Right? Somebody comes into the other lane, you don't have to stop. Somebody come to your lane, you have to stop. So just because somebody is coming in, you don't stop. You have to understand where they're coming in. And if you have the traffic is a two-way road, like it is even more harder, right? If it's a median separated like highway or something, little easier because on your side there are no vehicles coming in the opposite direction. You know there's a clear median. When there's no median, right? Normal road which has two-way traffic, like you don't react to everything. You have to understand when to react, when not to react. Right? When you're going on this side and the vehicles on the other side, somebody coming trying to cut in on the other side, you don't have to stop. Until they come to the middle of the road, you don't have to worry about it. But you have to watch because they're coming in. So you don't stop, but you just keep an eye on them. That's what we do when you're driving. And if they suddenly run in, you have to apply the brake. So to be ready for it, but you don't stop. Like so, there are. I mean, the number of decisions that have to be made on a road is just like very, very large amount of, and that's why you don't have the very few solutions that are very effective today. Even the few self-driving cars that are going through trials and in the field, every now and then you hear of a bad accident that happened. So it's still not, it's a very complex, very, very complex problem. So robotics is about anything that is autonomous, self-driven by, like a human doesn't control, right? It can make its own determination and it's moving and doing a task. That's essentially what a robo is. And like, there are, again, a lot of possibilities in the area of robotics. So language, like I said, is another area where like things come very naturally. I mean, for us, like for instance, like sarcasm. How often do you say like, "Hey, don't be sarcastic"? Now, how do you make? I mean, if it's hard for a computer to understand language, just understand the meaning of a sentence you spoke. How does now computer understand sarcasm? Sarcasm in text is still a little easier. How do you understand sarcasm in tone? Right? If you often we say like we say don't speak in the sarcastic tone. Now the sarcastic tone, the words are right, the sentences are right. There's no sarcasm in the sentence. The sarcasm is in the tone, which we can understand. Now, how do you make an algorithm understand sarcasm? How do you make algorithm understand anger? Right? If somebody is saying something, I got this sentence. If the speech recognition software, I can recognize what they're saying, but how do you recognize that they're saying it angrily or they're saying it happily? Now, so language itself is a very complex problem. Just understanding language is a very, very complex problem. If we give somebody a document, like say a 2-page, 3-page document, and tell them just go off, take an hour, and come back with a 1-paragraph summary, anybody can do it. We can easily create a 1-paragraph summary of a document. How do you make a computer do it? How do you understand like what else should go into the summary? And that's a very hard problem. So understanding language itself is very hard. When you go a level above and understand emotions, even harder. The emotion in text is itself hard, and emotion in speech is even more harder. So these are all like some of the problems that's happening. And today, if you understand the technology or if you can use the technology, there are a lot of good solutions possible. Recently, we did work like a BPO company had come to us saying that they want to detect as a call is happening. It's a call center solution. When the customer is calling and somebody from the company, the agent is talking to the customer. They want to detect whenever there is abusive words used. As and when abusive words are used in line as the call is happening, not afterwards. As the call is happening, if there's abusive language used, they want the algorithm to detect and then raise an alarm so that somebody, a supervisor or a manager can get into the call and try and diffuse the situation. Abusive language and anger. Any negative emotion, specifically anger. They wanted it to be detected as the call is happening. Now, so there are you already heard of bots, a lot of chat bots today, right? That can like, there's a computer that is helping answer questions or what are you wanting. Sorry, what information you might be looking for that you want from the company. A bot is answering. It can go to the database, fetch information, and then like they say, the best system of AI is where like the user doesn't know that you're talking to a machine. It should be as natural. Today, most chatbots, you know you're talking to a machine. So, but when AI comes into play, good AI-based chatbots are the ones where like you know you're talking to a machine. It'll be very natural, human-like conversation. We'll understand what you're trying to ask and won't ask some very stupid, dumb questions. And that is the state of the art in chatbots today. And it is happening. It's already deployed, and there's a lot more work happening. We'll see more of those in the coming years. Now, like I said, speech is an area. There's a lot of problems with speech. Sound itself, I mean, speech is one form of sound. Just looking at sound. We got a smart city use case that came to us a few years back, where they said like in a lot of traffic intersections, along with the camera, there's also a microphone, a very good sensitivity microphone that's available in the system. Now, they wanted to detect an explosion or a gunshot. Now, imagine like you're at a busy intersection, so noisy, a lot of vehicles, there is honk and everything. By and large, we can make out in that noise, if an explosion happens, a bomb goes off, we can immediately identify it's a bomb. We can distinguish between a bomb that went off and a bullet or a vehicle that backfired. They sound very similar, but we can even understand the difference. Gunshots, something we don't hear so often. We do hear it in the movies. In real life, thankfully, there are not too many gunshots in India. But we can also identify a gunshot. Now, how do you make an algorithm do it? Right? This is not a perfect sound matching. Like a bomb can sound any number of different ways. However it sounds, we can make out it's a bomb, a human being. How do you make an algorithm detect that it's a bomb? So that is a problem. So there's a lot of sound, all kinds of signals. We're just right now, we're starting work for railways. So they have diesel engines. They have live sensors they've installed in about 3,000 odd diesel engines. There are about 130 sensors that measure different things like, sound, performance, speed, like all vibration. A lot of readings are taken continuously, and all the data is going to the central control room. Every minute, every engine, 3,000 engines is sending data continuously to the central control room. Now, they want to build a system where using this data, can we predict failures? Because when the engine fails, it's very, very expensive, right? It can be having like some hundreds of goods bogies attached to it, or it could have like 2,000 passengers in the train. And if an engine fails, it's a serious problem. It causes a delay in the system. One line gets blocked until a new engine can come and take the train. So engine failures are very expensive for railways. So they want, given all this data, they want the AI system to predict when a failure is likely to happen. And this is based on past data. They have data from last 3-4 years. They're going to give data on a lot of failure conditions. So we know that this failure happened at this point. Looking at the data from all the 130 sensors in the previous few hours or few days, you can identify a pattern that is leading to the failure. Now, that's what a good mechanic does, right? They can just go hear the sound and tell this is what is wrong. Or just feel the vibration and say this could be wrong. Now, that's what this AI system is supposed to do. Looking at learning from all the past failures, can you try and figure out what leads to a failure? So when that is happening, you can predict that a failure is likely to happen in the next hour or two or next few days or whatever. Now, so just signals and sound-based AI is an area where there's a lot of work being done right now. So just like we'll have a good interaction, but I'll just take a few minutes and talk about some of the startups. And we have one of the largest incubators at Tripati. It's called Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, CIE. And it's about 12.5 years old now. In a few months, it'll be 13 years old. And one of the largest university incubators in the country. We have about 100 startups even now. And so just some startups from CIE and outside, a few examples just to kind of, as a teaser, just to get you some idea of what kind of innovation is happening out there. So Doctrinal is a company that can detect TB and other conditions just from the sound of a cough. You just have a cough, and then from the sound of the cough, the system will diagnose if there is TB or not. And they built a system now for COVID also. Just from the cough, it can diagnose if there is likelihood of COVID, because COVID is still not that certain from cough. Radiant is a company where they have complete remote eye diagnostic, like without a doctor, just by using, it's called a fundus camera, using a good quality camera and AI algorithm, it can automatically diagnose different things that are wrong with the eye. And because eye care still good quality doctors not available everywhere. And so that's what they work on, using AI for eye care. Onward Health is another startup that's looking at like using the medical images, CT scans and other medical images, trying to diagnose different types of cancer. Just from the images, the algorithm will diagnose different types of cancer. No, the accuracy, you don't take cancer very lightly. So they don't pitch it as something that like will automatically come and generate the report. They look at this as like assistive technology where it gives information to the oncologist or the radiologist. And like, so it saves time. Radiologists might take 30-40 minutes to read one scan. Now with this technology, they can do it in 5 minutes. because the system is going to suggest maybe this is one of the reasons why there could be this type of cancer. And then the radiologist has to just look at it and confirm or kind of, or say like, no, that is not the case. Now, so the reading can be much faster because of the assistance that comes from the technology. So that's what Onward Health is doing. Like I said, customer service in the area, chatbots, there are a lot of bots coming up. So where, like, again, a good chatbot is completely an AI system. So they should be able to answer many different things. It's not like it can answer anything and everything under the skies. But for the system it is trained for, you should be able to answer any question, get any information. So there are good chatbot startups. Scholar is a company where for school kids, from a camera, from the app, it can, when they're studying, they can just take a picture of a question. And then in the system, and the system will give tips on how to solve it. It's mainly for math problems, math and physics for problems. The system will tell how to solve it. It will recognize the format of the question, type of question, and then give tips on how to solve it, the set of steps. So using AI, like whether text or image-based for servicing customers, is an area where, again, there's some good set of startups. And like I said, language is still long ways to go before language comes mainstream. But there are some very interesting startups. I mean, like InStory is a startup where, like, if you write a short story, the product, the technology will tell you the story is good or not. I mean, we read stories and we can say the story is very good. How can an algorithm tell the story is good? No, that's what their system is. And they found a good spot in opportunity in advertising. So in advertising, they write the script first. If there's a video ad or a text ad, they write the script first, and it's called copy. And this technology is being used by many advertising companies now to evaluate on different emotions. It identifies not just the story is good or not. It will also identify different emotions that's in the story. So the one that is writing the ad can reconfirm if the effect they want is happening or not before they actually go shoot the video and then test it. Maçon is somebody that's working a lot of speech-based solutions. The call center example I gave is something that they have built along with one of our professors. Subtle.ai is a text, like, from large document. You can ask any question, it will find the system will find the answer from the document. Very large documents. So that is Subtle AI. Phrygian is a company that creates minutes of a meeting. Right? Normally you sit in a meeting and the meeting went on for an hour, and some person will be tasked with writing the minutes of the meeting. So at the end of it, just summarize the meeting. So that's what these guys' technology does. It generates minutes of meeting by just putting a speaker on the table. You do your meeting, it will generate the summary at the end of the meeting. Again, the accuracies are quite some. I mean, speech accuracy is still very low, but these are some of the solutions that's coming with respect to speech and text. So the convergence of physical machines, right, and intelligence is much more complex. And unfortunately, India, like, we are very good in hardware, software, but not in hardware, especially in machines. Our own creative machines, we're not that good, but there are some startups that are there. X-Machines is a platform. They have a robotics platform. Initially, they deployed in agriculture, and now they're working in warehouses, right, to move material from different parts of the warehouse to other parts. Internal movement of material. IndieBots is a solar panel cleaning bot. Automatically, it will just go around the panels and clean the bot, and without using water. So that's IndieBots. Alto is a smart helmet. So the helmet can detect that there's an accident about to happen or accident happening, and then accordingly warn the driver, and also if accident happens, can also send a message to family or even cops. Call for ambulance, and so it's a smart helmet. Thanos is a pesticide spraying drone, where the current version of the drone is a manual drone, but their vision is like it should identify from a camera which part of the field has the pest. So you don't spray the whole field. It will, based on what it is seeing, it will spray or spray less or not spray at all, and it will cover the whole field. So it will spray only where it needs to spray. So that is Thanos. Again, this is an area where not much happens in India today. The convergence of physical, either hardware or a machine, and automated processing intelligence, but it's slowly building up. The There's some of the other healthcare. So Nano Health was building some good stuff around preventive wellness, meaning like trying to detect conditions before it becomes bad, whether it's diabetic or diabetes or hypertension or any of these things. As it is evolving, they had signals to identify that like if you don't do something now, in another few months or few years, you will have diabetes and things like that. So they were in wellness space. Logi.ai was another company that was in cancer detection. There are other companies that are working in insurance automated claim processing, right? When claims are submitted to insurance companies, looking at the test reports or the hospital reports or the discharge summaries, automatically identify if the claim is okay or not. And so there's AI being used there in insurance claim processing and many other areas of healthcare. Like I said, healthcare is an area where a lot of AI can come into play. So that is the, I just wanted to set some context, give some examples, and then like I'm hoping some examples would have connected with each one of you, and hopefully you'll want to do more. So I can take any observations, comments, rejoinders, or questions.
Thank you, sir. The session was very enlightening. So now we'd like to ask a few questions from the audience. Do you want me to read it out for you?
Sure.
Okay, sir. So this is a question by Mr. Suri Gitesh. He asks, sir, MI or AI needs a lot of previous data sets for its training. An entrepreneur who is entering a new market having less data to analyze, will it be suitable for him or her to take the risks to use some ML or AI based data systems in my startup?
No, I mean, see, it is the, I don't think you should worry so much about it. See, if you understand AI and if you have some advisors, you'll be able to kind of understand how much data is required. But again, it's not a binary system. It's not that the system works or doesn't work. AI systems are all probabilistic systems, right? The accuracy increases with more data. But at some point, you might say, okay, it's 80% accuracy is good enough for me. I will start with 80%. As I get more and more data, I can improve the data. So it really depends on the use case, but they should stop. I mean, you will find, depending on the use case, if your story is good enough, you will find somebody that's willing to give you the data.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Now we would like to call upon Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee, sir. The stage is all yours, sir.
Thank you. So all the best, Maçon and the ESL.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot to both Professor Nagabhushan and Professor Ramesh. You guys have actually set the tone for me. Thanks a lot for it. And really, Professor Ramesh, I mean, now when I will be presenting, I think you will realize that how much you actually have spoken part of the things that will really help the students here to absorb whatever I'm going to talk about. So what I am going to talk mainly about is, just a moment. First, let me open it and let me know whether you guys can see. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay, just 1 minute. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's visible now. So you can see in the slide sharing mode, right? Slideshow mode.
You can see the slide sharing mode.
Okay, great. I think Dr. Sainath has given the same brief to all of us to motivate you and bring in how the NISP is helping you guys to start being an innovative entrepreneur, as I feel. Rightly, why this session, I mean, my session is at the last after Professor Nagabhushan and Professor Ramesh has spoken is, I think many of you will be able to relate to me because I have recently, I mean, not very long back, I was going through your phase. And today I will be sharing a story. Okay, I'll start with a story, and I will try to relate to that to both your situation and how the NISP has been. So let's try to dig in. And yeah, as I said, it's going to be a story, and the story is about this guy on the extreme left, and no prize in guessing, and that's me. Some 13 years back. So I was in the engineering college. Some good friends of mine around me, and what happened is in 2010. Okay. I was with my family and we went on a trip in somewhere in North India, and what picture you are seeing is actually the road. Okay. Where we were traveling. So we were going on to visit some. There is one temple in the middle of the lake. It was very beautiful. So we were going there, and this is how the road looked like. Okay, and now you can relate what Dr. Ramesh was talking about. If you had some kind of technology to help you out, some AI-based technology, it would have been much easier for the driver. But unfortunately, our vehicle was a very normal one, and it had nothing. So we faced a small accident, not a big one. It just missed the railway track. So the guard was up, so it was open. The tires hit the railway track, and nothing much happened. Only thing was my sister was sitting at the extreme left hand side, and she got hit at the head. So I was pretty disturbed with the situation that happened, and I felt that it's actually very, very unsafe for vehicles in India during the winter season to travel when the road is this bad foggy. And I think you still hear those kind of news on the Yamuna Expressway, right? Every year we get that news, cars piling up after accidents. And another picture that disturbed me in that same trip was this, which was none of the people you can see, I mean, only a few at the back are wearing helmets and nobody else is wearing one. So what made me thinking is, one, this kind of a foggy road, which is unsafe for somebody within the contour of a car. And then imagine somebody traveling in a two-wheeler without a helmet, and the visibility is pretty much the same for all of them, right? So how dangerous is that? People doesn't wear helmets, and even after regulation, under the regulation comes, it's actually difficult. The reason why they wear is because there is a policeman standing probably, and they have to give a fine. So these two pictures actually worried me quite a lot, and I started looking up as these challenges worth solving. Okay, and clearly two different challenges. The first one is how to help vehicles navigate safely in a low visibility condition. The other one is how to ensure all bikers wear helmet. Simple, but for me, let me give a background here. My engineering major is in automobile. Okay, so I was an automobile engineering student, and at that point of time, I'm talking about 2007 and approximately that age time. Engineering colleges were pretty much like when it comes to automobile engineering, it's considered as the sister of mechanical engineering. Mostly everything that's there in mechanical engineering is going to be there, and the demarcation of different engineering streams were very prominent. Like say, an automobile engineering does not really interact with the electronics department. The electronics does not interact much with the computer science department. But I think now that you have already seen the prior two presentations, and you have seen about the cases that Professor Ramesh spoke about, you realize that these are pretty much, I mean, it's odd, right? It shouldn't be that way. When you are trying to apply some kind of AI system in an automotive vehicle, you have to know how the automobile works. At the same time, you have to know how the electronics works or the technology works, right? And obviously, when there is AI, there is a lot of computer-related stuff also you have to know. Now, with these two challenges, we formulated. I mean, at that time I was alone. I was just planning out how to do it. So we formulated that yes, I need two technologies to be incorporated. For the fog problem, I need some kind of an obstruction detection technology, and for the helmet problem, there has to be a way to sense that somebody is wearing, and if somebody is not wearing it, then the ignition has to have a cutoff. That's pretty much it. By this time, I guess you realize that to understand from the problem statement, what the challenge that's there out in the market, to thinking what I need to come up with. I don't really need much of technology knowledge or electronics knowledge or any knowledge. Till this time, it's pretty common sense, right? I actually want to go back and make you remember when Professor Ramesh was talking about that drone thing getting into that seminar hall. The steps that he spoke of are actually not the technology terms he was using. He was using very common sense, rational terms, and it doesn't require you to be a very technology guy, a techie. Because why I am repeating this part is many times I see entrepreneurs coming back and saying that I am having a background in, say, arts or commerce. How am I going to start a tech startup? Or I have to distance myself from a tech startup. And whether that makes sense or not is something that we are going to discuss in this presentation as well. So with these two things, we wanted to start. So I found a few enthusiastic friends and they were like, okay, good, we will be part of it. So precisely I got 9 people because 9 is a good number to work on 2 projects, and full on was required. And but the problem is, the moment we started facing challenges. Okay, I'll tell you what different challenges we faced. Essentially 4. First was we all, mainly because we were from the same batch, we all mostly were from the automobile engineering background, or the mechanical friends of mine, and not much of electronics we knew. Okay, so we needed some mentor who could guide us on electronics. We got 2 friends from a different college who had some knowledge of electronics. But you know what? To come up with this kind of solution, it does not actually help only going by the bookish knowledge of electronics. So we needed somebody who can help us on the field, on the ground. Point 2 was we were spending a lot of time in the workshops, and the college was not quite happy about it. And I don't blame the college or anybody in that college or the HOD or anybody, because you know what, they also have it that they have to show it to the board that whoever is sitting for the exams, they have this much of attendance and all, and we were not able to cope up with it. So we were spending a lot of time in the workshop, so attendance was going really bad. You know, not only in the workshops, we were actually trying out to go on different tech fairs and different business plan competitions. Not business plan competitions, actually, I would say tech fest, because I don't remember hearing the word business plan before 2013, probably 13 or 14. I never heard of it. You guys are really lucky to hear so many times this term, and this is really important. I'll tell you why. Third thing was we were doing a lot of experiments on whatever solutions we were trying to do. Okay, and most of them were failing. Okay, and it's very normal. It's not abnormal to fail, but the point is, at that point of time, every experiment was so costly that for us it was burning a lot. Like, it was burning our pocket, it was burning our time. So it was really a time where we started thinking that what should we be doing to control whatever is happening. So we were going through all this stress, and obviously because we were burning in our experiments, resources were limited, and also, as I said, that a college had their own set of rules, and which is very much understandable why they had it. So use of resources wasn't that easy. So with that, when we were thinking that, oh my goodness, nothing is going to happen, we got somebody. This guy on the extreme left. This is a photo I took from his Facebook page very recently without his permission, which I shouldn't be doing. But actually, he looks like this now, but he was quite younger at that point of time. Professor Arijit Sen, and till date, I believe that he is the guy who changed everything for us. Okay, and here also you can see this is a recent picture. He actually with the other students. These are probably the current students of my college, and they are also probably doing some project. You can see this red stuff. I guess it's some kind of a project that they are doing. And he is always there when there is an innovative project. He doesn't really care whether the HOD allows or anybody in the department or the college or anybody has any problem. He was always ready. And right now he's Professor Arijit. At that time he was lab technician, so he was really busy, but he always cared for innovative ideas. And we used to go and say that, sir, this is not happening, some failure and all those stuff. So he always used to help us, and with his tutelage, with his support, we could make something like this. Yeah, there is. This is what we called the bat car. I don't have the helmet picture, unfortunately. I don't know. I couldn't find out in my repository. It's pretty old. You can see it's 2010. So helmet was also in the same time. And now, if I ask you how awesome this looks, this is supposed to be a car, how brilliant does it look? It looks pretty pathetic, right? Yeah, it's supposed to be that way, and I learned it later on that it is okay to have it this way. So this was actually a wooden platform on 4 wheels, and the front, what you are seeing over here, is a switchboard, okay, switch box. So we bought one switch box. You can see what nonsense we did on it. Cut here, there, everywhere, and you can see the ultrasonic transducers in front. We pushed them, welded them, and did all this nonsense. And you can see a hell lot of breadboards inside, right? So these were all those that we could not the right way, but honestly, it was almost stolen from the laboratory, electronics laboratory. Of course, we returned those after we were done with this prototype. So we actually had to sneak in all these things and a messy looking electronics. And now the problem was, when we made this, how this was supposed to work was, this is supposed to be the solution for our obstruction detection technology. And what idea we had at that time, very naive idea probably, but at that age, I guess that was okayish. So we thought that when some vehicle is going, and if this ultrasonic transducers, which I guess it's pretty impossible right now because they have very low range, at that point of time, we were pretty okay with this small prototype to show that it is working. So what was supposed to happen was, if it detects something in front of it, you can see here a stepper motor, and the motor actually sees how big the obstruction is or where it is. You can see also on the left-hand side of this bat car, there are a few other transducer also, so which checks on the side also what is the clearance and all the stuff. And this stepper motor, what it was supposed to do is, it was supposed to rotate, okay, the switch box to check what's the height, where it is missing. Now with this concept, what happened is, obviously we didn't have anybody, we don't know how to code. This was some kind of coding that was required. Electronics, this motor also had required some kind of coding, and we knew nothing about it. So we got some friends. We asked them that please code this. So we told them that this is what we want. We want to check the height up, and they coded it, and we took it to one of the tech fest. What happened is, we told our friends to lift it, but we never told them to lift it back down once it is done. So what happened is, this stepper motor kept on rotating, and all our connections were pulled off and peeled off. So it was a funny incident, though now I can say it was funny. It wasn't at that time. It was very scary. We were all very upset that what's happening, how can we make these connections again and all this stuff. But that's what you enjoy as an innovator. Yeah, see, today I'm really smiling. I'm happy about this phase that I went through. And I guess everything that you do, at that time you just think that this is happening, but what you are actually doing is going through a learning phase. It's very, very, very important. And you know what? If you do nothing, then you don't have a learning phase. Then you don't have anything to talk about, no story. And if there is no story in your life, honestly, it's sad. It's sad. So that's what I would request you guys. Don't too much worry about whether the bat car looks really like a car or it's something very pathetic. At least the bat is there, right? So we wanted to show all these things. So once this was made, then we formed as I said, this was our team of 9 people. You can see me in the middle of it, trying to extend as much as possible. And so this was IIT Kanpur. We were selected for the final round as a poster presentation, and all 9 of us went. We divided ourselves into 2 groups, Make Fun AUV and the Defenders. Don't ask me why the name Make Fun AUV. AUV is automobile engineering, so that was short form. But why Make Fun, I don't know. These guys thought that that's a cool name. and we were the defenders. You can see here present. We were presenting, and then this was the result, an amazing result. We came first in both the categories. We were fighting against other teams over there. Why specifically I have chosen this picture is also to show you that this is IIT Kanpur, and you can see there is a category called electrical and there is a category called mechanical. Back in 2011, this was the way. Like when there is a poster presentation happening, there is going to be an electrical category. Now, you can see the mechanical category, this MEG1 AUV, whatever we came up with, the obstruction mutation technology, hardly there was anything mechanical about it. But it was a mindset. It was quite different at that point of time. And that's why I consider you guys really, really lucky to get the current scenario, to get the NISP right at this point. And as Dr. Nagabhushan spoke about, you are lucky enough to get the NEP also just after the NISP is there. So amazing change is happening all through. And now what I want to show you is through this story, the different hardships as a student innovator we faced, and how NISP through its policy has actually reaped those things off. And I am so amazed to see that how the thought process has gone into formulating this. Honestly, I have heard of the NISP before. I have checked some salient features, but this is probably the first time when Dr. Sainath actually spoke to me that this is something that is going to happen here, that I went in depth of it. And when I was reading where they have made bold, where they have actually used capital letters, I was amazed to see the stress they have put at certain factors. And I will try to highlight those specific things only. So the first hardship that we faced is that we never had any interdisciplinary learning. Okay. Yes, automotive, in our automobile engineering syllabus, we had something called the automotive electronics. But automotive electronics for us was something where we will be just touching upon the different electronics that's being used. Other than that, yes, we had some lab, but they had some specific experiments to do, and we just used to go ahead and do those experiments. But really learning is different from experimenting, right? I mean, learning is different from just going ahead and completing certain curriculum, right? So if you ask me, did I actually learn when I was there something related to electronics? No, I didn't. But while doing this project, oh yes, I did learn a lot. And the logic that went in for making this solution, it was not made by Arijit Singh. It was our logic, and we just told him, see, this is what we are trying to do, sir. And he could come up and tell me that, see, why you have to use this electronics. So same thing is going to be there for you as well. Okay, because see, when I was telling that there has to be something in the helmet which senses the head. So probably we have to think of how we can create some kind of some kind of pressure inside the helmet, on the skin of the helmet, so that the moment the head pushes it up, it senses that yes, there is a pressure inside, it's built up, and it sends a signal to the bike where there is kind of something that disconnects and connects. And that's when he said that you need a pressure transducer and you need a relay. So, and then he started building. And now then I learned, okay, so there is something called a pressure transducer, there is something called a relay, and I started reading about it. So actually it's not very difficult for a non-techie to start something in the technology by fearing that, oh my goodness, that's technology and I will not be able to do it. And coming back to what NISP has done with this interdisciplinary learning, they have focused highly on this fact. They have made sure that institutes ensure that you get some kind of, the amalgamation is happening. Everybody is talking to each other. There is no silos. The silos are going to be broken. And you will have, if you are talking to somebody else from your department, some other department, or if you are spending time, if you are learning from them, there is not going to be any problem from the college side, because the whole thing has been formulated in such a way that the policy encourages the college or whatever institute to try these things out. So that's the point number one. Point number two is, in our college, we didn't have this kind of trying out with new technologies and provisions to try anything out. Well, that's the case you with many colleges. I don't think you will find probably a lot of colleges around the country where you can try out n number of technologies. Any technologies you speak about, it's there. It's probably not there. The provisions are not there. But what this policy has essentially done is, as Dr. Nagabhushan has mentioned, that you actually can go ahead and collaborate with somebody who already has it. Okay, so if some other colleges or some other institutes have something which is a technology they are working on, and the startup idea that you have requires a collaboration, you can always go back to your college asking that, I know that college has this, can you help me out in connection? So that's something though the policy talks about the college doing these collaborations, I would ask you that you should be the fulcrum who will identify for your startup what is required, and then go back and tell your college that this is where I have identified the right people or industry or institute who can support me, and I need your support to get engaged with them. So that's something that wasn't there today. With this NISP, it's there. Third point was attendance was a big thing. And I guess there was some score for attendance also at one point of time. Anybody above 75% score used to get some marks. Now that was the rule. But now with NISP, it even talks about semester breaks and year breaks. But remember one thing, it is that's where I am coming back to saying that where they have made it bold, they want to understand the intention behind you asking for permission on low attendance. It cannot be that you are just vanished in the middle of the semester and suddenly you appear and say that, you know what, I was working on a startup, it's not working, so I want to come back. No, that doesn't work. So you have to keep your college updated in what you are doing, and you have to ensure that whatever ideas you're working on, whatever business models you're working on, they're really innovative, they're actually solving some problem, and the college can create some kind of provision for you after some discussion done within their own committees. Point number 4 is this was one of the biggest thing which used to happen, and luckily for us, we mostly won most of the tech fest. Wherever we used to go, we actually won. Actually, we spent quite a lot of time in first making our prototype and working on the ideation. So what happened is, by the time we were going to the tech fest, we had something really solid to show, and that year was year of money for us because we won a lot of money. In fact, IIT Kanpur, I remember we won 14,000 rupees, 7,000 for each. So 14,000 rupees in 2010 or 11 for guys like us, like 20, we were like 20, 21. That was big. That was big, right? So similarly, we used to earn quite a lot of money, and we used to use it for making other stuff. But the point over here is, failure was not much celebrated before, but this policy specifically talks about celebrating failures. And if you remember, Dr. Nagabhushan also spoke about it, that how this encourages individuals like you to read about the things that didn't work. In fact, when I was with Mahindra, we had something called Dare to Dream. There was an award that Mahindra gives. Mahindra Innovation Award happens every year, and one of the categories is Dare to Dream. And it was named Failed Innovations before, but Dr. Raghunath Mashilkar once came and he said that let's not say failed innovations, let's call it Dare to Dream or something like that. And so we changed the name to Dare to Dream. So it's actually very important to celebrate failure, because what we're actually celebrating is not failure, but the courage to try. So it's important that you try, and every time you are failing, you are essentially learning something very, very vital, and nothing better than that. Next thing was approvals. Like sometimes we used to ask for train fare reimbursement or usage of the lab and all those stuff. So usage of the lab, mainly I remember, was a very big headache, because there was certain time of the day when the lab used to be operational and certain time when it wasn't. And now, if I needed the lab to be operational for say from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at night, so that means the lab has to stay open. Somebody has to go and lock it after 9. All these things were there, and since these things were there, it all used to go back to the college decision, and it used to take time to get approvals that okay, fine, somebody will be allotted and all the stuff. Now, since this policy talks about a separate body and all those stuff, it actually approval happens probably. It can happen overnight also, that fast. So it helps you. So what does it do for you? You as an entrepreneur, when you start thinking that now I start, how should I be doing it? You should not feel at any point of time that because of this delay and all, no, I am losing the interest in it. This policy ensures that doesn't happen to you. And it understands that students have that mind. They will be jumping from one idea to the other. They will be jumping from one thing to the other very soon. So it's important to keep you focused, and that's why NISP is removing the hurdles that were there before. This is funny, but yes, whatever inventions we made no IP on it. Okay. I remember there was some people in our college was talking about it, that let's make an IP and all the stuff, but somehow it didn't materialize, and we just wrote a few papers on it. It was published and all the stuff, but IP, yes, we didn't. So you may have seen this helmet, multiple versions of it later on. I mean, I remember in 2013, I saw in a paper cutout, and one of my friends shared it on Facebook saying that you guys have not cashified on whatever you guys did. So that's again another learning. And as I said, that business model, IP, these were things that we didn't hear much, but you guys are hearing today. So best time for you to look at it and cash on it. Obviously, we never created any business model around it. It was a standalone innovation for us. Not innovation. I cannot call it innovation. And that's what, again, Dr. Nakamura mentioned, the difference between invention and innovation. We didn't create any business model. We never sold it. There was no value created in the society. It was an idea. Obviously, everything was done. The hard part was done. We didn't just finish it. So that's a sad story that I had. And obviously, it never reached the market. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That how this whole thing, the NISP actually helps. And there is one more thing that NISP specifically in bold talks about, and that is the emphasis. If you just go through the policy paper, you will find the very big emphasis on pre-incubation process. And I think you remember what is there in the pre-incubation process from the slide that Dr. Nagamura showed. Everything that ensures that you are actually serious about what you are doing. Okay. Now, the reason why they have done, I actually was listening to their innovation director, I guess, Mr. Shahu, and he was emphasizing, and he was saying that most of the incubators around the country is failing today mainly because they are incubating startups who are not actually providing the value that they promise they will be. So it's like they are trying their hard to ensure that these startups move, and it's not actually moving, or some reason they are failing halfway down the line. Now, what happens is this may happen to any entrepreneur when they start. You know what? Most of the time the mistake we make is we start from an idea, and that's where the whole problem happens. We always need to ensure that we start from a challenge statement, a problem, and then we slowly move towards it. And pre-incubation process is everything which starts from identifying the problem that you're going to solve, identifying the market that has the problem, how big is that market, identifying whether the market has the potential to pay you, then starting to look at what kind of solutions you are going to come up with, experimenting and going ahead to make the first proof of concept at least, and make some kind of proto out of it, validate it. Validate it means you can take the proof of concept around, show it to the customers, whoever has spoken of the problem, and get some kind of feedback from them that, yeah, this looks good. This looks interesting. I am interested. At least that part. Okay. And beyond that, at least have some kind of a idea that how you are going to create a revenue stream around it. because the whole focus, as you if you remember again, I'm referring again and again to our previous speakers. If you remember what Dr. Nagabhushana wrote, why is this NISP? One of the biggest reason is the $5 trillion economy. So economy has to get a boost, and it can only happen with the commercialization of the stuff. So it's important that you have a business model woven around your innovation. So if you have made all these things, then you go ahead and tell your institute that, see, now it's ready, I need incubation. Now what's incubation? Beyond it, now I want to scale up, I want to use your machineries, I want to use your testing lab to see that what's next, how can I make it big, really big. And obviously the partnership, the collaboration, and all the stuff. But pre-incubation also is where you are getting the support from your institute. But people, this institutes used to focus a lot on the incubation part before. Now the focus has to be a lot on helping you out in everything that's there in the pre-incubation. Now you may ask me at this point that, if I am talking about technology, and technology is expensive, technology trying out itself is going to be a lot of money. So isn't it makes more sense that we get at least some money to start off? And this is one of the questions that I hear a lot from startups I mentor, where they say that, what, the reason why I am not able to pull off is because the technology I am trying to use, I am thinking of capitalizing on, is expensive. Well, I will answer that question. Okay, and I will answer why NISP is talking on pre-incubation and all those stuff. But before that, I wanted to show you 12 disruptive technologies that's there today. And I like to know that, most of the time, I guess you already have heard of few of them, and you have tried out or something. These 12 technologies that's there today, that's changing the way things are happening around us. Okay, IoT, cloud computing, data analytics, AI, ML, robotics, synthetic. I think the rest of the things you may have heard. Synthetic biology, maybe not many of you have heard of. It's something where you can edit your gene. That's one part of synthetic biology. There are multiple things. One thing is, what if right now what we do, say for example, somebody has cancer, and or somebody, if that's a hereditary disease, there's a probability of somebody getting that hereditary disease. And through synthetic biology, you can actually use some kind of tools where it goes into your body and edits your gene, cuts the part of the gene which is essentially harmful, and replaces it with something which is good. So you actually have removed the problem that's going to happen. So something like prevention is better than cure. So that's where synthetic biology is progressing. It's a big field. Additive manufacturing, you may have heard of 3D printing. That's almost the same thing. Extended reality, the other name that you have heard of is AR, VR, and mixed reality. Energy storage, which is a big area of research for electric vehicles, because battery storage is a big thing. Renewable energy, alternate sources, you always have heard of it already. Advanced materials, like there is a lot of research going on graphene and shape memory materials and all those stuff. So this is another area of huge research happening. And obviously, I know for sure a lot of you have heard of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and all that. So these are, say, 12 disruptive technologies that's there and transforming the businesses today. Okay. What I will try to show you is, so by the way, when I was working as the innovation manager at Mahindra, I was actually reporting to the chief innovation officer, and together with the technology officer also, we used to go ahead and show him that what's going to come next, what's going to happen. Something that I used to follow is called a technology hype cycle. Okay, what's happening? Where is a technology today, and where it is going to go in the near future? And it used to look like something like this. Okay, and this technology hype cycle is something released by a company called Gartner. You can go to their website and you will find it's openly available for all of you. So you can find year-wise the technology hype cycles. So this is specifically one hype cycle that I have I'm showing you from the year 2015. I'll come to the reason why. Let me first explain you what's the hype cycle. What it talks about essentially is it says that any technology, when it starts with an innovation trigger. Okay, so suddenly somebody it's there, and suddenly it's found that there is a capability of doing it. So it's an innovation trigger, which is the essentially the starting point of this graph. Then it goes to an area which is called the peak of inflated expectations, which is like you expect it to do a lot of things. So just imagine when robotics, we just started hearing about robotics and all this stuff. We started imagining a lot of stuff. You may have seen a lot of fiction movies coming, and you started imagining what all can it not do. Now, hardly at that point of time, we realized the kind of problem that Professor Ramesh was mentioning about the drone getting hit against a wall suddenly, right? We thought that no, nothing would happen. It will just simply go. In fact, we not even thought about it, right? So when we start realizing that what are the problems is where you see the trough of disillusionment. People start talking about, you know what, this technology is not that cool as I thought it is. There are so many problems. There is so many negative impacts of it and all this stuff. There's a lot of media talking about it and all this stuff happens. And then there is something called the slope of enlightenment. You start accepting the good and bad of that technology. That yes, there is some issues, but still it is capable of solving a bigger problem. So worth pursuing. So the technology stays. And finally, there is something called the plateau of productivity. So it's like an autopilot mode. It just keeps on happening. Like say, for example, right now, internet. How many of you are really concerned about that the 4G, 5G? You are really not. You're just knowing that there is a number 5G coming, so higher, faster internet. Just an autopilot mode. The moment the 2G came and the 3G came and 4G came, you just know that it will go on happening, right? So it's somewhere in the plateau. Now you can see at the bottom there is this predictions that how long, you can say more than 10 years, more than this is where what it means is how fast it can reach this plateau, this autopilot mode. So this is the chart of hype cycle of 2015, and the reason why I actually brought this up is I have highlighted here a few things, right? Few technologies. Check the nomenclature of it. Okay, just the nomenclature, the naming. Biochips, IoT platform, autonomous vehicles, Internet of Things, machine learning, cryptocurrencies, hybrid augmented reality, and all this stuff. These are the same kind of names that I have spoken about in the last slide that I showed you, right? These are technologies, hardcore technology names, right? Augmented reality, a kind of technology. Machine learning, a kind of technology. Now I will show you something very interesting, which is the Gartner hype cycle of 2020. Okay, look at the naming. Social distancing technologies, bring your own identity, packaged business capabilities, health passport. Bring your own identity. What technology is that? I haven't heard of it. Social distancing technology, what is that? You know what's happening? Can you see the difference? Before we were talking about the name of specific technologies, now we are talking about technologies which is essentially going ahead and giving you, fulfilling certain purpose. When I say social distancing technologies, you may come up with multiple ways of doing social distancing, right? You can use any technology to do it. And social distancing technologies, in fact, I think in Gartner only, they have released this paper on when they released this hype cycle, and they mentioned the first thing they mentioned, you know what? They mentioned about Arogya Setu. They mentioned about Arogya Setu in India is showing you what's, but that's not for social distancing, that's for health passport. Whether you are around any COVID positive areas and all, it's showing. So that's something they have written in their Gartner article. So what's essentially happening is we are moving from a standalone technology perspective to more purpose-driven technology. We are moving to a phase where we are not looking at technology as something which is going to be the first thing to capture. And now, when I say this, I would believe that there is one better guy to tell you about this thing, to explain you how you should be actually approaching a technology solution. How should you be taking up a technology? And none other than this guy. I think all of you recognize this. I have just taken a small clip of Steve Jobs talking about one aspect of how he in Apple have decided to use the technology. And this is a video. So it's a 2-minute video. I have clipped it. So just listen to it, and then we'll again come back.
One of the things I've always found is that you've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. And I've made this mistake probably more than anybody else in this room. And I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I know that it's the case. And as we have tried to come up with a strategy and a vision for Apple, it started with what incredible benefits can we give to the customer? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology we have, and then how are we going to market that? And I think that's the right path to take. I remember with the laser writer, we built the world's first small laser printer, as you know, and there was awesome technology in that box. We had the first Canon laser printing, cheap laser printing engine in the world, in the United States here at Apple. We had a very wonderful printer controller that we designed. We had Adobe's PostScript software in there. We had Apple Talk in there. Just awesome technology in the box. And I remember seeing the first printout come out of it, and just picking it up and looking at it and thinking, you know, we can sell this. Because you don't have to know anything about what's in that box. All we have to do is hold this up and go, do you want this? And if you can remember back to 1984, before laser printers, it was pretty startling to see that. People went, whoa, yes.
So now I guess you realize that why is NISP focusing a lot on this pre-incubation part? Because you need not worry about where the money will come for your technology, where you will actually be doing it. If you have identified a worthwhile customer problem to solve, a challenge in the society to solve, you can find a way to identify the right people to help you out with the technology part of it. So there is not going to be anything that's going to stop you, and whatever hurdles mostly were there before, NISP has made sure with this policy, they have actually removed most of it, if not all. So now I will be giving you 10 points, action points for you. You can take a screenshot, you can take a notes of it, but these are steps that you can actually take, and it's going to help you a lot. There's a mixture of my experience, and by the way, just to tell you that with that pain that I had of 2011 of not able to formulate a proper business out of it, of whatever innovations we had, in 2015 I started one venture, and though it lasted for 2 years and it failed for some other reason, it was more of a team issue that we couldn't. But honestly, it was a brilliant way of formulating our problem statement, coming up with a solution, and we also got funding for it, the initial funding from our college itself. I was at that time in SIB in Pune, and they funded our solution. So anyways, things happen, but what is going to help you out now is, with whatever experience I have and whatever NISP talks about, I put this 10 pointers for you. The first is about identifying a problem worth solving. Now there are 2 pointers to it. Worth solving means there is a problem which is really a bad problem. People are crying for it, and the other thing is there is a market for it. So there is a potential market for it. Next, very important, is being open to talk to people who are not like you. Probably going ahead to talk to people who are not MBA grads. So don't stop yourself from your community of people you know. Talk to people who are very different, who work in very, very different areas. So I have a friend who is a naval officer, and I talk to him a lot because I see that there is a lot of things that he probably have done and at a very crunch situation, which I can learn a lot about. And so definitely it's important to collect interdisciplinary ideas. And the main reason why you should be doing it is most of interdisciplinary ideas are extremely novel and are patentable. Okay, so this is something that's important to note. Third point is identify everything that you need. Okay, and yeah, it's important that you get the right mentorship from your college. Go ahead and ask, because there is a reason why I have made this thing red. I will tell you when I end. Identify the people on LinkedIn or any social media who can help you. People, organizations, startups, anything. It's the owner stays on you. You cannot expect the college to do it for you, because they may be doing their way. They may be helping out with all this, but end of the day, it is your product, it is your baby. You know how to best take care of it. So you have to identify who can help you out, and it's best you then can go back and talk to it. And that way, things happen much faster. You may go ahead and tell the spock of your college that, see, this is my idea. I need somebody from this area, and they may go ahead and search, but it may take time. But you know exactly where you need the help. Search it and then ask for it. That's I would suggest a better way to do it. Point number 6 is obviously this is what I just now spoke. Attend as many startup fest, B plan competitions, and all those stuff. I guess you mentioned that you already have a B plan competition soon. So it's not only about arranging a competition. When you have so many people coming from other colleges, or rather now nobody is coming, they are presenting from other colleges, I would rather say. Try to not end the relation over there only. If you liked somebody's presentation, if you like the way they thought, go ahead and try to connect. Go ahead and say that, yeah, that was good. I saw your presentation during the fest here. Would you like to connect? Go ahead and do that. Be a little extrovert. Kill the introvert in you. Okay, that's going to be one of the very important things to do. So progress. Keep on showing your progress. It always helps to your college. It's not only for the attendance part of it, but also, the more minds you involve in whatever you are doing, the better chance of you to create a mastermind, which gives you a lot of ideas to try out. Make a proof of concept and share your business plan with the institute. Yes, that's for the incubation part of it, and ask for the incubation support. So now, what are the red things? Red things are the actions that your institute will be doing. And if you see that the number of red is way less than the black part, and that's why this whole session that we are having today is for you. Is for you to see that there are a lot of black things. The NISP talks a lot about the infrastructure that has to be made by the institutes and all. Remember that it's all because it wants you to be successful. It wants you to start something on your own, be an innovative entrepreneur. So make sure that you don't miss out on the black lines. Red lines, I'm sure that nobody in your institute needs a teaching on that. They already understand what has to be done. So this is something that's going to be important. And this is going to be my last slide, but I just want to finish it with this. This was a poster, okay? This is a poster that we made when I was the innovation manager at Mahindra Research Valley, at Mahindra Technical Academy. You can see the MTA logo at the top right. So we were having some kind of Navratri talks, okay? Which is during the Navratri, we arranged some kind of disruptive talks on disruptive technologies. And so we created this poster, which is extremely valuable for you guys today. Just a few edits I wanted to make on it, and I made this. The Devi is you, and the challenge of the society is where the Ashura is. And what you ride upon is this NISP. And treat all technologies as tools. They are not something that you should be scared of, okay? Don't worry much about where should I be getting the data set for, whether the data set is valuable or not. These things will start figuring out. You have enough of mentorship, guidance, experts to help you out on that. Remember that these technologies are there and more coming. Focus more on the Asura, which is the challenge. What challenge are you actually trying to solve? If you know exactly whom you are trying to kill, you know what weapon you need for that. You don't need to go the other way around. So that's it, guys. And thanks a lot for being a patient listener.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us. We are so overwhelmed to listen to your entire journey. And the last slide was killer, I must say. The way you explained everything, it was very nice. Thank you so much, sir. So we'll take one question from the chat box. Should I read it out for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Deepak Anchalia is asking, how can we de-risk innovation?
De-risk?
Yes.
That's a good question. See, if honestly speaking, innovation is risky. I mean, now, if whatever you do, okay, can you have 100% certainty in everything that you are doing? You don't, right? Even say for example, right now I say that today we will have dinner at 9, and that's a hard point. Something bad happens if I do it later. How sure am I that that's going to happen? It may happen at 8:55. It may happen at 9:05, right? So everything that we do, there is a level of uncertainty in everything. So how you do de-risking? I won't call it de-risking. I would call it minimize the risk. And there is certain procedure that you can follow to minimize the risk. Few of the procedures, one of the procedures that's very well known, and I am pretty sure everybody of you have heard of it, is a process called design thinking. Follow a design thinking approach. But though I know that people know about design thinking, they have heard of it, people still make mistakes. And the mistakes are more on emphasizing on what part should I be emphasizing more on? What all things I should be looking at first? How much time should I be spending on each stage? All these questions always happen. Imagine if everybody would have de-risked in their innovation, then all companies would have been successful, right? But do we have that? No, we don't have it. The biggest of the biggest companies are also not risk-free. Today, GM also is looking at Tesla and thinking that what's going to happen next. So it happens. It's fine to have risk. Only thing that's you have to be sure about that you stay true to your intentions in whatever you are delivering to your customer, and identify that how efficiently you can do it. Rest all will start following up as it happens.
Thank you so much, sir. We are overwhelmed to have you with us today. Now, we would like to call one of our senior faculties of IBS, Dr. M. Sainath, sir, who is the Dean of Curriculum Faculty and Entrepreneurship Development. We welcome you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee. Sorry, I couldn't attend the first part of the talks because I just emerged from a series of meetings which I was running from 2 o'clock. They were totally unexpected. I was actually wanting to attend all these sessions because, but I could make it just for the last part of it. One particular thing I would like to particularly congratulate you about, which is very, very valid, and it may not be very significant in a professional incubator or a tech park, but in an academic institution, it becomes a very important point that you made, and that is interdisciplinary collaboration. I have been trying to emphasize this in IFHE also, in the sense that the ideal team for initiating a startup is one that has a marketing input, it has a technological input, and it has a legal and regulatory input. And all these three are present right in the campus of IFHE. So I was actually thinking very hopefully, I was trying to propagate this, that, it'll be nice, if we can actually work in this interdisciplinary fashion, primarily because that is the way forward. So I'm very glad you stressed upon that. And yes, I would also tell to the students here that Mr. Sayantan has made a very important suggestion about, he clearly demarcated in his last slide, what is it that you are expected to do and what is it that institute will do for you. See, yes, we will search for mentorship, for mentoring you and all those things. But if you actually have somebody in mind already, the institute will definitely use its resources to approach them and get them for you. So that kind of a collaborative, trustworthy spirit is very much necessary when we move forward in the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. Thank you. That's the part I heard. So that's the only thing I can comment on. But knowing you, Mr. Sayantan, and knowing Mr. Professor Ramesh Loknathan before you, and Professor Nagbhushan Raju, who spoke right in the beginning, I'm sure you know that you mesmerize the students with your expertise and with your grasp of the subject. Definitely, we'll be having you with us in more formal capacities in the future, because I can see that you're students. So thank you very much for spending your valuable time with us, and we hope to see you soon with us.
Thank you, Sainath ji. In fact, Dr. Shivakumar used to say a lot about you. We really wish that I'm able to see you. Thank you so much for the opportunity given to us. We have definitely sure that we have lived up to the expectations of the students. And we from Atal Incubation Center, Sri Krishna Deva Raya University, will be more happy to handhold any of your student and support in whatever way that we could. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity given to us.
Yeah, and since Professor Nagbhushan Raju Garu is here, I would like to tell the students, actually I would like to leak something important information that is not yet finalized. We are going to sign an MOU with Atal Incubation Center at SKU, and which is actually going to do exactly what Professor Raju just now said. There, we are going to co-incubate some of our students there, and they will also be hand-holding us and participating in several of our activities to basically build the ecosystem culture here. So thank you, Professor Raju Garu, and I apologize to you once again, I couldn't be here for your talk. Definitely we will meet, sir. I also look forward to meeting you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Apologies are very heavy for me. Thank you. Definitely, we look forward. A small request, kindly do visit our university whenever you are going to Puttaparthi next time.
Sure, sir. I will 100% I'll do it.
Okay, last week, Mr. Naveen Lakur was here last week with us.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling our students, please read the books of Naveen Lakur. He is a social entrepreneur. Wonderful books he has.
Yeah.
You can just Google for him. And is Institute of Inspiring Innovations. And he is a wonderful person, sir. And I think your students also should listen to him once in a while, whenever you get an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And Mr. Sayantan, yes, definitely, he is going to be definitely a part of our ecosystem also in much more involved manners. We will be revealing to you what the plans are for the future. Thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you, Sayantan ji. Your session was very, very inspiring, and it was a real life story of your journey through, and that's exactly what the students of this generation need. Instead of telling somebody else's stories, telling our own stories is very, very highly inspiring, Andy. That's what I was mentioning in my talk, sir, Professor Sainath Garu.
Yeah.
I have a mission, which I was sharing with Mr. Naveen Lakur. I have a mission to reach million minds, whether they're motivating or inspiring, anything. So there are different channels.
Okay.
That's the thing. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was really, I thoroughly enjoyed Sayantan's journey of entrepreneurship and innovation, Andy. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Professor. I mean, he set up the context, so I didn't have to go much deep into the policy of it. I thought that let's him the best person to talk about it, and then Professor Ramesh coming talking about the AI case studies. Everything was like it just happened very nice. So thank you for this kind of an arrangement too.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you very much.
Sayantan sir and Nagabhushan sir, for your words of wisdom. That was indeed a very informative and insightful session. So, as all good things come to an end, so should this day. However, do not fret, for tomorrow we have plans of engaging you with the Interclub Blee Plan competition. So, on behalf of Maçon, we are privileged to have you all here, and we thank our esteemed guests for taking some time out of their busy schedules and gracing us with their presence.
We would like to thank our faculty members and dignitaries for giving us this opportunity and for supporting us throughout. We'd also like to thank our promotional partner, IBS Messenger, our media partner, Newswire, our ecosystem partner, Club Prayas, our cultural partner, Club Samavesh, and our theatre partner, Expressions.
We would also like to thank our sponsors, title sponsor, Learning by Traveling, co-sponsor Bison, Innovogen, Ovionics, and co-living partner Tikana. We thank the management for providing us with this platform to learn more about entrepreneurial skills and how to use them. Last, but never the least, all the audience and participants without whom all this wouldn't be possible. Thank you so much, everyone.
So with this note, Ankit and I sign off for today, but we are looking forward to see all of you tomorrow, the next day of our eWeek 2020. Thank you all. Team Maçon signing off.
God bless you all and have a nice day.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for joining, sir.